If you want to have a big development, it's better to join a power. You are here to persuade me. Luli was suspicious. He asked back, Brother Sue, do you have any good recommendations? My personal suggestion is to join a transcendent grade organization. To Lu Li's surprise, Su Zishi didn't try to persuade Lu Li to join the prefecture his ancestor was in. Instead, he recommended another force. You'd better not join a prefecture. It is hard to make a name for yourself there. My great-grandpa has been there for tens of thousands of years, and he has never made a name for himself. The suggestion he gave me was to find a super faction to join. Of course, it would be perfect if I could join one of the 4 Transcendent God factions. It's a pity that not everyone can join the 4 Transcendent God factions. On the surface, they don't recruit outsiders. If they discover that you have potential or your strength has reached a certain level, the 4 Transcendent God factions will invite you to join. Luli had some understanding of the 4 super forces, but not the super forces. He asked, what is a super force? A super sect. Suzishi's eyes glowed. There are 72 major sects in the divinity. You can do whatever you want in the divinity if you join any one of them. Not even prefectures dare to provoke them. If you can join one of the 72 sects, you can have a meteoric rise in the divinity and do whatever you want. Luli made a mental note. The major sects were too far away for Luli to think about it. He just wanted to go to the Swords Mountain and find Emperor of Heaven Reverse before making other plans. But the 72 sects did pique Lu Li's interest. Astro Emperor once said that the force Lu Ling was and had the word Nai in it. Lu Ling's force was powerful. Was it one of the 72 super forces? Lu Li asked, Brother Su, do you know the name of the 72 sects? Is there one with the word an I in it? An I? Su Zishi shook his head. I don't know the specific name. I think you'll have to ask my great-grandpa. Okay. Luli thought of something else. Brother Su, how do I cultivate after I reach the immortal realm? Your great-grandpa can tell you the general direction. That's easy. Su Zishi explained. You can ask around. After the immortal realm, we cultivate origin, fundamental principles, and skills from the divinity. For skills from the divinity, we need to find or buy books. We can't become immortals without learning fundamental principles. That being said, the origin fundamental principles we learned are of the lowest level, the original form of fundamental principles. There are 3 forms of fundamental principles. The first is the original form. The second is the realm of fundamental principles. And the third is the complete realm. At the complete realm, we can continue to cultivate. Luli was surprised. How could he continue to cultivate when he reached the complete realm? Ha. Su Zishi calmly smiled and said, true meanings are separated into different grades. Under normal circumstances, the true meaning comprehended would be low-grade true meanings. After that, there are still mid-grade true meanings, high-grade true meanings, and transcendent grade true meanings. When a fundamental principle reaches the complete realm, there are 2 options. The first is to integrate other fundamental principles, and the second is to evolve it. Either way, the final goal is to evolve the lower-level fundamental principles to the higher level. That is the only way to become stronger. Lower level, middle level, high level, and supreme level. Luli nodded to himself. The Slayer's fundamental principle was so powerful. Could it be the supreme level? If so, when he reached the complete realm of the Slayer's fundamental principle, wouldn't his abilities soar at once? Well, one last question. Su Zishi knew a lot. Luli decided to ask him everything. Brother Su, are you at the 3rd plane of the divinity? Is this a strange place? Or what? 3rd plane of the divinity? Su Zishi was stumped. He shook his head in confusion. I don't know. I think I will have to ask my great-grandpa. Thank you, Brother Su. Luli bowed. Su Zishi had told him a lot of useful information and helped Luli hide his secrets. Luli had acknowledged Su Zishi. You are welcome. Su Zishi nodded with a smile. He understood that Luli needed some time to digest the information. Su Zishi left without further ado. After Su Zishi left, Luli sat in the room for half a day. He had a preliminary direction of cultivation. He had a skill, the method of stone golems, but he had not mastered the third level. Recently, he planned to cultivate the method of stone golems and read books on formations in his spare time. If he had time, he could study the secrets of the immortal's body. Emperor Z once said that he had the strongest body under the third plane of the divinity. There was a powerful body refinement skill in the immortal's body. Luli could study it when he had time. Luli rested for a day after he cleared his mind. Then, he left the castle and went to the mine. He planned to let the deaf Taoist dig for spring gold while he found a place to cultivate. What he did not know was, after he entered the mine, the triangular-eyed official soldier walked out of a castle and glanced at the 5 god spirit realm slaves. The 5 immediately followed him. Chapter 12:18. Something is not right. Soon, Luli noticed it. Clearly, someone was following him. He could hear footsteps, not too far away but not too close. There were quite a number of people following him. Su Zishi's prediction had come true. Those people did not come with good intentions. Luli was worried. He was not afraid of some average immortals, but he would be in trouble when there were too many of them. He was not wearing the relic armor. Even so, he could still be killed. Luli was still at the upper level of the mine. There were many people coming and going. Those people did not follow Luli because they were afraid that the information would be leaked. They must be waiting for Luli to get to the bottom of the mine before they take action. While Luli walked slowly, he thought quickly. Under the stimulation of life and death, his mind worked fast. Hundreds of ideas came to his mind at once. Blood Fairy. His heart skipped a beat, and he sent a message through the mental link with Blood Fairy. Blood Fairy's voice immediately responded, "Master, I'm here." Luli asked, "How is your control over the immortal's body? Have you improved your abilities? I am in big trouble, and I need your help." The immortal's body should not be used at will. Luli had no other choice but to rely on the immortal's body. Blood Fairy replied, "I have not fully mastered the formations in the immortal's body, but compared to before, the immortal's body is at least 30 times stronger." 30 times? That is enough. Li's eyes glowed. The immortal's body was already strong. He could be as strong as the deaf Taoist. Now that he was 30 times stronger, he should be able to defeat average immortals. "Okay," Li said, "when I let you out, kill them at once. Do not let any of them escape, or else we will all be in trouble." Blood Fairy had taken control of part of the formations in the immortal's body, which had increased his abilities. Li's confidence was boosted. He no longer had to worry about anything and dashed into the mine. As he sped up, those behind him sped up as well. Li listened carefully to the footsteps. There were 2 groups of people. 5 were the closest to him, followed by more than a dozen. Luli did not care about the direction or the route. He just had to go deeper into the mine. Half a day later, Luli had no idea where he was. Anyway, he could hardly see anyone here. He must be at the deepest part of the mine. "Come out, my friend behind me." Luli stood in a spacious area. He turned around and looked behind him. Soon, 5 people came out. They were all wearing relic armors, and their eyes were filled with murderous intent. The 5 of them were all tall and burly, with gray hair and sharp ears. They didn't look old, but their faces were old-fashioned, and their faces were as cold as ice. Their bodies emitted a cold aura. "You are Li, soaring from the great martial realm?" one of them said. Before Luli could reply, he continued with a sneer, "You must be Li, not from a vast martial universe, but from the Heaven Reverse universe, right?" As expected, Luli put on a mocking grin. He had a clear understanding of Yin Tiangang. Apart from Yin Tiangang, no one else could be so capable. Only Yin Tiangang could collude with the official army and mobilize the divine slaves here to ambush him. It seemed that he had killed Yin Zhen and destroyed the Yin family, which had infuriated Yin Tiangang so much that he wanted to kill him at all costs. "I'm Li, not Li. I don't know what you're talking about," Li said calmly, but he had some questions. There were more than a dozen behind him. Why didn't they come together? Were they not on the same team? Or would the dozen come after him if the 5 of them could not kill him? The 5 of them were strong, but Li was not afraid. What troubled him was killing the 5 of them might not be a problem, But what about the dozen behind them? Once they ran away, the information about the Deaf Taoist and the immortal's body would be leaked. After the time for one breath, Luli said, "What do you want? Just tell me." A gray-haired, middle-aged man said, "We don't have anything important to do. We just want you to surrender and come with us." "Where?" Luli asked, knowing the answer. He sensed that the dozen in the distance had stopped. An idea came to him. "If you want to take me away, you must ask the brothers behind me if they are willing." A glint of coldness rose in the five's eyes. They used psychic power to check. Luli was delighted. It seemed the two groups were not on the same side. He shouted at once, "Brothers, come out and do something. The five of them have hundreds of pieces of spring gold on them. It is enough for us to share." Luli's voice echoed in the mine. The five were taken aback. The more than a dozen in the distance knew that they had been exposed. They had to hurry over. Luli checked with psychic power. The more than a dozen ascended at the same time as him. Among them was the old man who went to collect information. At this moment, Luli understood something. He must have gotten the 10 pieces of spring gold for the mission easily. Those people were jealous. They followed Luli for two purposes. First, they wanted to see how Luli dug out the spring gold. Second, they wanted to snatch his spring gold. Ha ha ha. Having figured it out, Luli laughed and said, "Brothers, let's work together and kill the five. They have more than 500 pieces of spring gold. We will share it. If the higher-ups want to hold us accountable, I will take full responsibility." None of the more than a dozen dared to move. After all, they had only been in the mountain of vicissitudes for a month, and they were not clear about the situation. Who could tell if the five had someone to back them up? What was more, the five were clearly strong. The five had just ascended, and they dared not to provoke them. These people were like rookies. Faced with five fierce veterans, they did not have the courage to fight recklessly even though they had the advantage in numbers. The five glanced over to the more than a dozen. Seeing that none of them moved, one of the five said with a mocking smile, "You want to fight against us? Do you know how many we have killed in the mine? We have been at the mountain of vicissitudes for nearly 1,000 years. We have killed at least 1,000 immortals. If you don't want to die, piss off." The relic armors on the five glowed. They took out various relic weapons. Two of them even took out two tripods, which were spinning around them. Those must be some kind of strange artifact. The five were at the peak of their momentum. Their eyes were filled with killing intent. They were like five beasts that were ready to devour someone. The more than a dozen warriors felt uneasy. They were in a dilemma. You have one last chance. Piss off or die. A gray-haired strong man with a sawtooth steel saber stepped forward. The strong, killing intent spread out. The more than a dozen warriors were in a panic. "We don't know him. Let's go." That old man waved his hand and left with the others. He dared not to stay any longer. Making sure that the more than a dozen warriors had left, the five looked back at Luli. One of them said, "We will give you one last chance. Either you surrender and come with us, or you die." Luli smiled. He had nothing to worry about now that the more than a dozen warriors had run away. A glow came out from between his eyebrows. The Deaf Taoist appeared in front of him. Luli ordered coldly, "Deaf Taoist, do it. Kill them." "Roar, roar," the Deaf Taoist cried into the sky. The space here was large enough for him to transform. He grew to more than 100 feet tall, surrounded by a dark air, emitting a strong, killing intent. "What?" The five of them glared at the Deaf Taoist coldly. They were afraid of the Deaf Taoist's energy, especially the energy of a beast, which made them uncomfortable. "Charge!" The five of them dashed over and surrounded the Deaf Taoist. A bloody fight broke out. Chapter 12:19. Luli did not want to rely on the immortal's body or the Deaf Taoist for the rest of his life. He had just entered the divinity and had no place to settle down or means to protect himself. Luli was happy that the Deaf Taoist and the immortal's body had improved. At the very least, his safety was guaranteed, especially when Yin Tiangang was concerned about Luli's life. Now that there was the first ambush, there would be more to come. Both open and covert attacks would come. Without the immortal's body and the Deaf Taoist, Lu would not be able to survive. Bang bang. Not long afterward, the other two immortals were killed as well. The Death Taoist attacks were too ferocious. The two immortals could not get away. Cremate the bodies. When the 5 immortals were killed, Lu dashed over and put away all the relic armors and weapons. The 2 small round tripods were put away just like the 5s in interspatial rings. The immortal's body was put away in the wicked bead at once. The immortal's body could not be exposed to the outside world, or else it would be a disaster. The Death Taoist poured out black flames and burned the 5 immortals together. The Death Taoist dug a hole to bury the ashes. Let's go. With that done, Lu and the Death Taoist ran away. They found a small tunnel and went in. Then they dug a tunnel and hid. What? In a castle in the Valley of Vicissitudes, a bird-eyed prefecture warrior was holding 5 jade talismans that suddenly exploded. His bird-eyed prefecture warrior was shocked. What's going on? Next to him was a prefecture warrior who was also wearing a blue armor. He should be a prefecture warrior of the Vicissitudes house. Dead. The 5 I sent out are dead, the bird-eyed prefecture warrior said with doubt. How can this Lu be so powerful? The 5 of them are experienced. They have been at the mountain of vicissitudes for nearly 10,000 years and never left. They have been plundering and bullying newcomers. How can they die in the hands of Lu? Long Shan, who is this Lu? The prefecture warrior shook his head. I don't know. Someone asked me to capture or kill him. How can a newly ascended immortal be so powerful? Li Chong, let me make it clear. If you cannot capture or kill Lu, you will only get 10% of the reward. I know the rules. The triangular-eyed Li Chong sneered a few times. The muscles on his face trembled as he patted Long Shan's shoulder and said, Long Shan, don't be anxious. I will arrange for a few more ruthless characters. How dare the laborers in the Valley of Vicissitudes disobey me? If there is no other way, I will think of a way to do it myself. I will definitely get these 1 million divine roots. It would be best to capture them alive. Long Shan thought for a moment and said, if we capture them alive and send them out of the Valley of Vicissitudes, the price will be 5 times higher. Why don't you take him out by force? He dares to disobey the order of the official army? This won't do. Li Chong shook his head and said, it's not like you don't know Commander Ye's character. It's fine to do some little tricks in the dark, but if things get out of hand, I won't be able to bear the consequences of Commander Ye's wrath. All right. Long Shan nodded and said, then I'll leave the valley first and wait for you outside for a while. Don't worry. Li Chong revealed a sinister smile and said, he's just a newly ascended god. Isn't it easy to play him to death? If I don't kill him, my name isn't Li Chong. Lu did not know that the bird-eyed man was plotting against him. Lu and the Death Taoist dug deeper. They only stopped after they had dug for over 100 miles. Death Taoist, take care of your wounds first. The Death Taoist was injured when he was risking his life. Lu protected him so that he could recover. Lu even gave the Death Taoist 2 pieces of spring gold so that the Death Taoist could consume them. The Death Taoist recovered after half a day. This time, it was the Death Taoist's turn to protect Lu because Lu was going to take control of a relic armor. Lu's physical body was not weak, but with the relic armor, his defense would be stronger. It seemed that the relic armor was hard to destroy. Not even the immortal's body could crack the relic armor. Relic armors and weapons were not that valuable. Of the 5 immortals, 5 had relic weapons and armors. Lu got 5 sets of relic weapons and armors and 2 artifacts at once. Death Taoist, do you need to take control of a relic weapon? Lu remembered something. The Death Taoist stone column was too long. It was not easy to wield it in the cave. The Death Taoist thought of the same thing. He nodded, and Lu gave the sawtooth saber to the Death Taoist. Using divine energy to take control of relic weapons and armors was fast. In the past, it would take Lu several months to take control of a relic armor. This time, it only took him half a day. Buzzing, Lu's body glowed as a silver armor appeared. Together with his white skin, he looked awe-inspiring. Lu took out another saber. This saber was thick and heavy, and the lines were not to Lu's liking. That being said, the other weapons were not suitable for him. Lu Li decided to take control of this one. After a day or two, Lu Li and the Deaf Taoist had both taken control of the weapons. Their abilities were enhanced again. Right, the interspatial rings. Lu Li remembered the 5's interspatial rings. He wondered if there were more relic weapons, armors, or skills. He took out the 5's interspatial rings and took a look. Lu Li's pupils contracted. He was overjoyed. There were not many relic weapons and armors in the 5's interspatial rings, only 2. There were not many skills, either. There was only one sheepskin scroll. What surprised Lu Li was spring gold. There was a large amount of spring gold in the 5's interspatial rings, over 1,000 pieces in total. Lu Li only had a hand in 10 pieces every month, and he could only get over 100 pieces in a year. Now, he had over 1,000 pieces of spring gold. That was to say, from now on, he didn't have to dig for spring gold anymore. He could just hand in the required amount every month. Let's go back. Without any hesitation, Lu Li decided to go back to the Valley of Vicissitudes because it was absolutely safe there. Who dared to start a fight in the Valley of Vicissitudes? Not even prefecture warriors could give him trouble for no reason. He just had to cultivate in the castle and wait for a year to pass. Then he would be qualified as a prefecture citizen and could leave the Valley of Vicissitudes. Lu Li told the Deaf Taoist about the situation. The latter agreed. There were over 10,000 slaves in the Valley of Vicissitudes. The immortal's body was powerful. However, if the bird-eyed prefecture warriors sent more powerful immortals, or even dozens of immortals, Lu Li could be killed. Here is 100 pieces of spring gold. Consume them all. Lu Li gave the Deaf Taoist 100 pieces of spring gold. The latter was overjoyed. After refining these 100 pieces of azure sun gold, his battle prowess would probably increase by a large margin. Take care of Little White. Lu Li gave all the divine sources to the Deaf Taoist and led him into the wicked bead. Then he rushed out of the mine. He had encountered many slaves along the way. Lu Li had been on guard in case he was assassinated. Luckily, nobody tried to harm him. He returned to the castle in the Valley of Vicissitudes safely and activated the inhibition formation to cultivate. You are back. Not long after Lu Li came back, bird-eyed Li Chong received the news. Li Chong pulled a long face. If Lu Li never went down the mine, Li Chong would have a headache. Chapter 12:20. Lu Li had indeed given Li Chong a headache. Lu Li had been in seclusion in the castle and never stepped out of the castle. He would only go out to hand in the spring sun gold once the month was up. After handing in the spring sun gold, Lu Li returned to the castle and didn't step out. Li Chong could secretly hire many god spirit slaves in the Valley of Vicissitudes, but Lu Li didn't go into the mine. He couldn't possibly find someone to kill his way into the castle, right? By then, the people he mobilized would all die, and he would probably be finished as well. How many people did you kill? How much spring sun gold did you get? On the 3rd month, when Lu Li handed in the spring sun gold, Su Zishi followed him into Lu Li's room and asked curiously. Lu Li didn't step out for 2 months, but he was able to hand in the spring sun gold so easily. It meant that he must have obtained plenty of spring sun gold. The only way to obtain so much spring sun gold so easily was to kill and seize the treasure. Lu Li didn't answer Su Zishi's question and asked, "Why? Are you lacking spring sun gold? If so, I can give you some." "No need." Su Zishi let out a leisurely laugh, and his face was filled with evil charm. His hand flashed with radiance, and countless spring sun gold appeared in his hand. He grinned and said, "A few idiots had designs on me, and I killed them. I got a few hundred spring sun gold, which is enough for the mission." "Oh." Lu Li was slightly astonished. He didn't expect Su Zishi to have such powerful combat strength despite looking so frail and small. However, when he recalled that Su Zishi's great-grandfather was the town elder of the prefecture, he should have imparted plenty of good stuff to Su Zishi. It was understandable that Su Zishi's combat strength was so strong. Lu Li nodded and said, "I also killed a few idiots and obtained the spring sun gold needed for this year." I might as well cultivate in seclusion in the castle. Impressive. Su Zishi gave a thumbs up and muttered for a moment before saying, "The men sent by my great-grandfather are already on the move. I reckon that I will leave this place in 2 months. I don't know when I will be able to meet Brotherly again. There will always be a chance." Luli pursed his lips and smiled. "Who knows, we might have a chance to fight side by side and kill the enemy. If we can meet again next time, let's drink and chat happily." "All right, it's a promise." Su Zishi extended his hand and shook Lu Li's hand tightly before he stood up and bade farewell. Lu Li continued his seclusion. During this period of time, he had been comprehending the third rank of the Stoneman Divine sculpture art, and there were already initial results. He reckoned that he would be able to completely comprehend it in less than 2 months. The third stage of the Divine Stoneman puppet technique could create many Stoneman puppets with combat power comparable to deities. However, these puppets should not be too strong. Fortunately, he could condense many of them, which would be of some use. Time passed quickly, and 2 months had passed peacefully. Luli originally thought that the next few months would be spent leisurely, but he didn't expect something big to happen. The room's restriction was radiating with light. When Luli opened the door and saw Su Zishi, he frowned and asked, "Are you leaving?" "No." Su Zishi smiled bitterly and said, "Blue Flame Manor is in great trouble right now. The Abyss Devils have invaded the manor, and many martial practitioners have been devilized. My grandfather's men were killed on the way here. I don't think they will be able to come back anytime soon." "Demon?" The scene of Sha Di killing the devil appeared in Lu Li's mind as he asked with bewilderment, "The devil can enter the divine world? Or are there devils lurking in the divine world itself?" "There are no devils lurking in the divine world. Once they appear, the experts will be dispatched to kill them." Su Zishi explained. This time, there was a disturbance in the spatial zone. A few devils infiltrated the divine world, but they were quickly killed. The experts of the divine world will not allow the devils to do as they please. "Oh, that's good." Hearing that the devils were killed, Luli didn't take it to heart. This had nothing to do with him. Unexpectedly, Su Zishi waved his hand and said, "Let's go. Commander Yi is gathering us at the plaza. The nearby sects have been demonized by the devils. Commander Yi wants to gather everyone to eliminate the demon envoys." "Us?" Luli was astonished and asked with bewilderment. "Blue Flame Manor has so many experts. Why is he asking us to go? We are not from Blue Flame Manor. Logically speaking, we don't have to do anything." Su Zishi looked confused as well. He said, "Blue Flame Manor does have a lot of prefecture army. Moreover, there are many experts from the nearby sections. I don't know the reason, but Commander Yi has given the order. We have to go. Let's go." "There's a conspiracy." Luli instinctively became alert. They were only serving here, which meant that they were working for Blue Flame Manor. However, they were free to do anything. Blue Flame Manor had no right to order them to do anything. Moreover, most of the divine spirits weren't strong. Although there were more than 10,000 of them, they were not as strong as a few hundred prefecture army. Why would Blue Flame Manor send them to eliminate the demon envoys? There must be something fishy going on. Could it be the triangular-eyed prefecture army's conspiracy? Luli's eyes flickered as he followed Su Zishi out. There were already thousands of people gathered at the plaza. Countless divine spirits were also gathering at the plaza. The few hundred prefecture army of Blue Flame Manor were all gathered at the plaza. Commander Yu was right there, waiting for everyone to gather. Luli followed Su Zishi and walked towards the crowd. He glanced at the prefecture army standing at the plaza. When he saw the triangular-eyed prefecture army, his heart sank immediately. The triangular-eyed prefecture army's gaze just happened to sweep over. Although it looked casual, Luli could still feel the coldness in his eyes. Luli's mind started spinning. The demon envoys entering the divine realm definitely had nothing to do with the triangular-eyed prefecture army. He didn't have that much power either. However, Commander Yi mobilizing the laborers of Blue Flame Manor definitely had something to do with this triangular-eyed prefecture army. The triangular-eyed prefecture army wanted to use this opportunity to lure him out of Blue Flame Valley. Then, he would find a chance to capture or kill him alive. "What's wrong, Lily? Lilu?" She noticed Lu Li's awful expression and asked with concern. "It's nothing." Lu Li waved his hand and pretended to be relaxed. He thought, was Yin Tiangang waiting outside? What if he coincidentally passed by and killed him? Time passed by slowly. More and more people gathered at the plaza. Commander Yi waved his hand at the prefecture army. Rays of light shone from the prefecture army's hands. Then, void beasts expanded and floated in the air. "Everyone, listen up." Commander Yi's cold voice rang out. A few days ago, a few demons descended. Although Blue Flame Manor had sent out a few experts to kill the demons, a dozen small sects nearby had been demonized. As a member of Blue Flame Manor, it is my duty to share the Manor Lord's burden. That is why I have gathered everyone to eliminate the demon envoys. Of course, I won't let you work for nothing. Those who go will be exempted from years of labor. We will be the main force. All you need to do is to guard the perimeter and prevent the demon envoys from escaping. If you don't want to go, Commander Ye's threat was obvious. As the commander of Blue Flame Manor, no one dared to raise an objection. Of course, there was no good in offending Commander Yi. Split up and enter the Void Beasts. The prefecture army spread out and commanded everyone. The triangular-eyed happened to come to Lu Li's side. He pointed his blue spear at everyone and shouted, "Hurry up, otherwise the demon envoys will escape. It will be even more troublesome to eliminate them in the future." Lu Li wanted to say that he didn't want to go, but his heart sank when he saw the triangular-eyed pointing his spear at him. If he said that he didn't want to go and the triangular-eyed prefecture army took the opportunity to kill him, Commander Yi wouldn't say anything even if he didn't like it. Chapter 12:21. Lu Li hesitated for a moment as Commander Yi glanced over. His heart sank again. Commander Yi couldn't have been bribed, right? "Let's go." Su Zishi patted on Lu Li's shoulder, and Lu Li had no choice but to follow him down the Void Beast. They were then enveloped by the radiance of the Void Beast as they were sucked into the Void Beast. "Someone is looking for trouble with you?" Su Zishi was smart. After entering the Void Beast with Lu Li, they went to a corner and sat down as he asked softly. Lu Li nodded. Su Zishi gave it a thought and pointed down. "Is it from the prefecture?" Lu Li saw that no one was paying attention to them, as they were all discussing how to kill the demonic envoy. This time, they didn't have to put in much effort. They just had to wait at the outer perimeter and would be exempted from hard labor. For many people, this was a blessing from heaven. Lu Li nodded again. Su Zishi's expression turned serious as his eyes flickered. He then gritted his teeth and said, "If there is no other way, then run. Just treat it as if you have died in battle. The prefecture might not arrest you, but you don't have the qualifications to be a citizen and cannot enter the city. You will have to think of a way in the future. I am currently unable to solve your problem. Don't worry about me. I will act according to the circumstances. Take care of yourself." Lu Li patted on Su Zishi's shoulder as he had completely recognized Su Zishi as a friend. Su Zishi smiled faintly and said, "I am fine. I still have some means to protect myself. If it is possible, I will help you kill the enemy." Lu Li patted on Su Zishi's shoulder again and didn't say anything else as he kept this favor in his heart. There were people coming into the Grand Hall, and it was like a market. It was bustling, and most of the people were excited. After all, it was very boring in the Valley of Vicissitudes. To have the opportunity to follow a large group, and such a large one at that, it was naturally interesting. The Void Beast could fit a few thousand people, but the Grand Hall could only fit around 2,000 before no one else came in. The doors were opened as dozens of prefecture warriors came in. Li Chong was among them. However, he didn't look at Lu Li and just stood there coldly. The Grand Hall quieted down as one of the prefecture warriors said, "This time, we will need to fly for 3 days. Our target is the sect of the God of Ghosts. The entire sect has tens of thousands of immortals and divine servants. The sect master was an almighty from the divine realm, but he had been secretly killed by the experts of the prefecture. We'll be in charge of killing the deities. You guys just need to surround the divine servants. Divine servants are very weak. You can easily kill them. In this operation, all the spoils you obtain will belong to you, but you are not allowed to leave without permission. After the war ends, all of you must return to Vicissitude mountain range. Otherwise, you will be wanted. After the official soldier finished speaking, he left with a group of people. The triangular-eyed man did not look at Luli again. After the official army left, the basilica became lively again. Everyone looked relaxed and did not feel pressured at all. Luli frowned and asked, "Brother Su, what is the grade of a divine servant?" This was the first time divine servant Li had heard of it. Su Zishi explained, basically, they are the natives of the realm of the gods. Many of them have yet to break through to the god realm. There are also some descendants of the gods. In short, martial artists who have not reached the god realm are collectively called divine servants in the god realm. They're the lowest existence in the god realm. Aluli rolled his eyes. He originally thought that the gods of the realm of the gods were the lowest existence. He didn't expect that there were people who had yet to become gods. Shouldn't the natives of the realm of the gods be able to become gods easily after they reached adulthood? Luli asked this question. She thought for a moment and said, "I'm not sure about the details, but I'm sure that 90 out of 100 natives of the realm of the gods are unable to become gods. It is said that 1,000,000 years ago, there was an expert among the natives who had offended the supreme master god. Therefore, their entire race was cursed. It was very difficult for them to become gods and could only be reduced to divine servants." Supreme Master God? Luli curled his lips and didn't ask any more questions. This kind of legend was basically just a rumor. It was probably because of the body of the natives of the realm of the gods. What kind of master god could have such great power? Why were so many divine servants unable to become gods? Luli didn't have time to think about the divine servants. He sat cross-legged in a corner and pondered about his future. If Yin Tiangang and Commander Yi were to work together, he would be in danger. The danger would be greater than any danger in history, let alone Yin Tiangang and Commander Yi. He didn't even have the confidence to deal with the triangular-eyed prefecture army. Furthermore, the triangular-eyed prefecture army represented the official forces. If he dared to kill the triangular-eyed prefecture army, he would be arrested by the Blue Flame Manor. He would have to face endless pursuers and escape like a stray dog before finally being crushed into pieces. Escape? There were desolate beasts everywhere in this wilderness. Where could he escape to with his combat strength? He couldn't enter the city. Even if he was lucky enough to survive the desolate beasts, was he not going to enter the city for the rest of his life? If he didn't enter the city, how was he going to go to the Divine Sword Mountain? Right now, he didn't even know where the Divine Sword Mountain was, let alone finding Lu Ling. If he didn't escape, the Triangular-Eyed would probably make his move secretly when he reached the destination. Should he resist or wait obediently when facing the prefecture army's attack? He was in a dilemma and was on the line between life and death. Luli knew that there was a mountain of blades and a sea of flames ahead, but he was helpless and could only watch as he entered the fire pit. Before he ascended, he knew that there would be danger at every step in the realm of the gods. However, he didn't expect the danger to come so quickly and directly. Luli pretended to be still, but inside, he was burning with anxiety. As time went by, he became more and more agitated. He was not afraid of death, but he didn't want to die. If he died, his jade talisman of life would explode. Jiang Qiling, by Qiu Shue, and by Xiaoshuang would come after him. Human sovereign realm, Lu Zhengyang, and patriarch of law enforcement would be devastated. The Lu family would be attacked by groups and would be wiped out in the end. Time passed quickly. Luli didn't know whether it was because they didn't run into any desolate beasts or because they were all killed by the prefecture army. The journey was peaceful. 3 days later, the beast of the void stopped outside of a huge mountain. At the peak of the mountain, there were many castles and people moving around. "Go down, all of you," a voice said. A gate appeared in the hall. The prefecture army's order came. "When you are out, spread out and surround the entire mountain." Don't let a single servant of Abyssal Blade get away. If there are powerful immortals, buy yourself some time. We'll be here soon. Lu Li and Su Zishi went through the gate and appeared below the Beast of the Void. They gazed into the mountain in the distance. They could faintly see many huge castles at the peak. Swish, swish, soon, a dark mist came out from the castles at the peak of the mountain and covered all the castles. The dark mist spread out in all directions as if a beast of the void had swallowed the entire mountain. Prefecture army, attack. Kill all the demonists. Commander Yi stood in midair with pride. He was also holding a blue spear in his hand. There was a blue glare as bright as the sun and the moon. There was a vague shadow of an elephant behind him. He looked terrifying. Commander Yi yelled, "The sect of the god of ghost has been demonized. Kill them all. Leave no one alive." Chapter 1222. Lu Li hesitated for a moment. Commander Yi glanced over. Lu Li's heart was weighed down. Was Commander Yi bought off as well? "Let's go." Su Zishi patted Lu Li's shoulder. Lu Li had no other choice but to follow Su Zishi into the Beast of the Void. Enveloped by the glow of the Beast of the Void, they were sucked into the Beast of the Void. "Someone is making you trouble." Su Zishi was smart. He asked Lu Li in a corner after they went into the Beast of the Void and sat down with his legs crossed. Lu Li nodded. After some thoughts, Su Zishi pointed down and asked, "Is it from the prefecture?" Lu Li noticed that nobody was paying attention to them. Everyone was in a heated discussion about how to kill the demonists. This time, they didn't have to do much. They just had to stay on guard, and they could be exempted from a year of hard labor. For many people, this was a blessing from heaven. Lu Li nodded again. Su Zishi pulled a long face. His eyes flickered. Finally, he made up his mind and said, "If there is no other way, just run. Consider it your death. The prefecture may not arrest you, but you're not qualified to be a citizen. You cannot enter the city. You will have to figure out on your own. I can't solve your problem at the moment. Don't worry about me. I will act according to circumstances. Take care of yourself." Lu Li patted Su Zishi's shoulder. He had acknowledged Su Zishi as a friend. Su Zishi smiled. "I will be fine. I have some ways to protect myself. If possible, I will help you kill the enemies." Lu Li patted Su Zishi's shoulder again and said nothing else. He would never forget Su Zishi's kindness. More and more people came in. The hall was like a market. It was noisy. Most people were excited. After all, it was boring in the Valley of Vicissitudes. Naturally, it was interesting to have a chance to go with a team, a big one at that. The Void Beast could hold a few thousand people, but the palace only held about 2,000 people before no one else came in. Buzzing, a door was opened. Dozens of prefecture warriors swarmed in. The bird-eyed Li Chong was among them. But he did not look at Lu Li. He just stood there indifferently. The hall quieted down. A prefecture warrior said, "This time, we will fly for 3 days. Our target is the sect of supernatural beings. There are tens of thousands of immortals and servants." The sect master was a divine world's almighty expert, but he had been secretly killed by the prefecture's experts. "We'll be responsible for killing the deities. You just need to surround the god servants." Divine servants are very weak. You can easily kill them. For this mission, all the spoils of war will belong to you. However, you are not allowed to leave without permission. After the battle ends, you must return to the Ashen Flame mountain range. Otherwise, you will be wanted. With that said, the prefecture warrior left with a group of warriors. The bird-eyed man never looked at Lu Li again. After the official army left, the hall became lively again. Everyone looked relaxed and did not feel pressured at all. Lu Li asked with a frown, "Brother Su, where are the ranks of followers?" This was the first time Lu Li had heard of God's servants. Su Zishi explained, "Basically, they are indigenous people of the divinity. Many of them are not immortals, and some are descendants of immortals. In short, martial artists who haven't reached the divine realm are collectively known as divine servants in the divine realm. They're the lowest existences in the divine realm." Lu Li rolled his eyes. He had thought that immortals were the lowest existences in the divinity. He He did not know that there were people who hadn't become immortals. Should an indigenous people of the divinity be able to become immortals easily after they grew up? Luli asked. Su Zishi answered after some thoughts. I don't know the details. But one thing is for sure. 90 out of 100 indigenous people of the divinity cannot become immortals. It is said 1,000,000 years ago, there was a powerful warrior among the indigenous people of the divinity. He once offended an almighty god. Therefore, his entire race was cursed. Basically, it is impossible for them to become immortals. They could only become followers. Almighty God? Luli curled his lips. He did not ask further. Legends like this were basically just rumors. It must be because of the bodies of the indigenous people of the divinity. What kind of almighty God could be so powerful? Why could so many followers not become immortals? Luli did not have the time to think about followers. He sat in a corner with his legs crossed, thinking about what to do next. If Yin Tiangang, Commander Yi, and Bird-Eyed Man were working together, then Luli would be in danger, more than any crisis in history. Not to mention Yin Tiangang or Commander Yi, Luli was not sure that he could defeat the Bird-Eyed Prefecture Warrior. What was more, the Bird-Eyed Prefecture Warrior was the representative of the government. If Luli dared to kill the Bird-Eyed Prefecture Warrior, he would be arrested by the Vicissitude House. In the future, he would have to face endless pursuers. He would have to run around like a stray dog until he was crushed into pieces. Run? Wild beasts were everywhere in the wilderness. Where could he go given his abilities? He could not go to the cities. Even if he was lucky enough to survive the wild beasts, he could not go to the cities for the rest of his life. How could he go to the Sword's Mountain without going to the cities? At the moment, he did not even know where the Sword's Mountain was, not to mention finding Lu Ling. If he did not run, when he arrived at the destination, the Bird-Eyed Prefecture Warrior would make a move. Should he fight back or wait to be captured? He was in a dilemma. His life was hanging by a thread. Luli knew that the road ahead was a mountain of blades and a sea of flames, but there was nothing he could do. He could only watch helplessly as he fell into a pit of fire. Before he ascended to the divinity, he had known that he would face danger at every step in the divinity. But he did not expect that the danger would come so soon and so directly. Luli pretended to be sitting still, but inside, he was burning with anxiety. As time moved on, he grew more and more impatient. He was not afraid of death, but he did not want to die. Once he died, his jade talisman of life would explode. Jiang Qiling by Qiu Shue and by Xiaoshuang would come with him. Lu Renhuang, Lu Jinyang, patriarch of law enforcement, and the others would be devastated. The Lu family might be attacked and eventually wiped out. Time moved on. Luli could not tell whether they ran into no wild beasts or the wild beasts were eliminated by the prefecture warriors. The journey was peaceful. 3 days later, the beast of the void stopped outside a huge mountain. At the peak of the mountain, there were many huge castles and people moving about. Off you go. Luli heard a voice. A gate appeared in the hall. A prefecture warrior gave out an order. When you go out, spread out and surround the entire mountain. Do not let a single servant go. If there are powerful immortals trying to break out, buy them some time. We will be there soon. Lu Li and Su Zishi went into the gate and landed on the beast of the void. They gazed into the distance. They could faintly see many huge castles at the peak, which were quite impressive. Swish, swish, soon, dark fog rose from the castles at the peak and enveloped all the castles. The dark fog spread to all sides, as if a beast of the void had swallowed the entire mountain. Prefecture warriors, kill all the demonists. Chapter 1223. The 8 nether beasts were scattered around the mountain range. Groups of godly spirits flew down from the nether beasts and formed a defensive circle around the mountain range. Although the mountain range was very big, there were so many deities here this time. If they spread out a little, they could easily surround the mountain range. Since Lu Li and Su Zishi were together, they were assigned to the same team. They were responsible for patrolling an area. There were 2 people in front and behind the 2 people a mile away from them. The defensive circle was very tight. All the official army soldiers had gone deep into the mountains. Only one official army soldier was left nearby to hold the line and prevent the god slaves from escaping. The triangular-eyed Li Chong entered the depths of the mountain range. Everything seemed normal. However, Lu Li felt that something was off. Although it was not the triangular-eyed man who arranged for them to stand here, he and Su Zishi happened to be in charge of a section of the exit. In other words, if the god servants of the sect of the god of ghost rushed down, they would most likely be the first to bear the brunt. Two people blocking a 300-meter-long road, and from the looks of it, this was the main entrance. There was obviously a deeper meaning to this. Brother Su, sorry to implicate you. Lu Li forced a smile and said to Su Zishi in a low voice, when things go wrong, go to the side. I will handle this. He. Su Zishi smiled. Looking at Lu Li with dissatisfaction, he said, Brother Li, who do you think I am? You're insulting my character. Not at all, Lu Li said in a serious tone. This is only the first wave of attacks. I believe there will be many more waves of attacks. They are coming for me, so it is pointless for you to stay. Moreover, I have other methods that are inconvenient for you to use here. Brother Su, you should know that if they are born, you will only die if you stay. Su Zishi pulled a long face. Lu Li was right. If they were just followers, he and Lu Li would not be afraid. However, he was afraid that the official army would secretly take advantage of the chaos to attack him. Every official army soldier was very powerful. No matter how conceited he would be like a mantis trying to stop a chariot if he tried to fight against the official army. It was not easy to ascend to godhood, and no one wanted to die so easily. He recognized Lu Li as a person, but not to the point where he would die with Lu Li. He nodded and said, Don't worry, Brother Li. If the situation isn't right, I'll retreat. Just give it your all. Lu Li patted Su Zishi's shoulder and said, Brother Su, I am sorry. My name is not Li Lu. I am Lu Li from the Heaven Reverse Universe. I had no choice but to hide it from you. I hope you can forgive me. Hee. Su Zishi was not surprised at all. Instead, he grinned. The fact that Lu Li could tell him his real name meant that Lu Li had accepted him completely. Woo-woo, bang, 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 bang. Within the black mist in the mountain range, ghostly wails and wolf howls could be heard, as well as muffled explosions. It was clear that the two sides had begun fighting. It was a pity that the black fog was billowing inside, and his spiritual force was also restricted, so he could not detect what was going on inside. Lu Li stopped talking to Su Zishi. He stood at the entrance of the path, dejected. His eyes flickered as he thought about all the possible scenarios and how to deal with them. What made him feel lucky was that Yin Tiangang didn't come. Otherwise, Yin Tiangang would have appeared and killed him easily or taken him away. Would Commander Yi offend a mighty warrior in the divinity for a slave? Since Yin Tiangang was not here, Commander Yi would have to send someone to capture or kill Lu Li secretly. Third-Eye Li Chong was one of them, and there might be other prefecture warriors. At most, there would be 3, or else Yin Tiangang would have to pay a heavy price. It would not be worth it. By the looks of it, Commander Yi was not involved. Otherwise, Lu Li would not be standing here safely. With Commander Ye's consent, Li Chong could capture Lu Li directly and nobody would say anything. Later, there will be many followers coming. Third-Eyed or other prefecture warriors will be lurking nearby. They will take me away quietly or kill me directly. Lu Li cleared his mind. He used psychic power to check the surroundings, trying to figure out a way out. He could not fight against prefecture warriors openly. Once he took action against prefecture warriors, the consequences would be unimaginable. The other prefecture warriors would take action to kill him. If he did not fight back, was he going to stand here and wait for Third Eye to kill him? He thought about it. Lu Li realized he had only 3 options. First, he could run away now. Second, when the followers came, he could take advantage of the chaos to escape and then find a way to avoid Third-Eyed and the others' pursuit. The third option was more risky. Lu Li pondered for the time for half an incense stick to burn. The commotion in the mountain was getting louder. Noises of fighting could be heard everywhere. Lu Li could vaguely hear a large group of people coming. He made up his mind. He had decided to go with the third option, He looked at the prefecture warriors patrolling in the distance and said to Su Zishi in a low voice, "Brother Su, someone will ask me where I have been. You can say that I am afraid and when to hide, or you can say that I was separated by the followers. When a large group of followers comes, if you cannot handle them, you can leave." With that said, Luli dashed toward the mountain without any hesitation. Soon, he vanished into the dark haze in the distance. "Well, you know there's a tiger in the mountain, and yet you are going there? Clever." Suzishi's eyes glowed after some thoughts. There were many demonized messengers in the mountain. The air of demons was thick. Luli could be demonized as well. While it seemed dangerous, it was a way out. If Luli ran away, he would be wanted. In the future, he would have to run around like a stray dog. He would either be eaten by wild beasts or killed by prefecture warriors. If Luli dashed into the mountain, as long as he could stay away from the bird-eyed prefecture warrior, he could return to the team openly after the battle. By then, nobody could do anything to him. With Commander Yi around, nobody would dare to play tricks. The mountain was vast. It would take time for the bird-eyed prefecture warrior to hunt down Luli. Maybe, by the time he found Luli, the mission would be over. When all the demonized messengers were killed and the dark haze dispersed, would Bird-Eye dare to go after Luli under the watchful eyes of the public? Therefore, Luli only needed to stay in the mountain until the mission was over. Then, he could survive and return to the Valley of Vicissitudes safely. Because of this mission, Luli was exempted from serving for 1 year. As long as he could return to the Valley of Vicissitudes, he could regain his freedom and be a citizen of the prefecture. Brother Lu, good luck. You are so lucky. You will be able to turn misfortune into fortune and survive this disaster. Suzishi could not help Luli. He could only pray. Fortunately, the prefecture warrior in the distance was patrolling in another direction and did not notice that one person was missing. Bang, bang, bang. From the mountain came some hurried and messy noises. From the dark haze, teams of warriors with black smoke and red eyes dashed over. Okay, Suzishi was relieved. The followers were making their move. Even if some prefecture warriors were to come and ask about Luli's whereabouts, Suzishi could help Luli find an excuse. Charge! Chapter 1224. Suzishi's combat strength was quite good. His 3-foot green peak was unstoppable, and he easily killed a few god servants with a casual sweep. Dark blood danced in the air. Broken limbs were scattered all over the ground. Some followers had their legs cut off. They were rolling around on the ground, screaming. The scene was chaotic and horrifying. Whoosh, whoosh, the patrolling prefectural army immediately came over, along with many deities to help. They could not allow any demoness to escape, or else the demonic energy on them would infect other warriors. What? A prefecture warrior rushed over. While killing the followers, he looked around. Seeing that Luli was not here, the prefecture warrior asked Suzishi, "Where is that Li Lu? How dare he run away?" Suzishi had already thought of a plan. Pointing to the mountain, he answered with a straight face, "Li Lu is fighting the demonists over there. Just now, there were too many demonists. He lured some of them away. Otherwise, I would not have been able to deal with them on my own. The army of demonists is already out." The prefecture warrior looked toward where Suzishi was pointing. Though he could not see clearly, he could hear noises of fighting. The immortals that came to help looked over. They were filled with respect. How could Luli be so desperate to bring a large number of demonists into the mountain? Was he not afraid that he would be infected by the demonic energy? All the demonists had a dark air around them. Nobody dared to come close. If they were infected by the demonic energy, they would turn into something like the followers, neither human nor ghost. Their souls would degenerate and eventually become the walking dead, killed in the wild. Nonsense! That prefecture warrior shouted, but said nothing more. After all, Luli did not break the rules and did not run away. Swish! More and more immortals were coming. The army of demonists and followers kept coming. However, they were being killed one by one. None of the followers had become immortals. If they were infected, their abilities would be weakened. If a group of immortals could not even defeat the followers, then their years of cultivation would have been in vain. After the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, 2 prefecture warriors in blue armor dashed out from the mountain on the left. She took a look and saw bird-eyed Li Chang among them. He put on a mocking smile. A prefecture warrior was plotting against Lu Li, a newly ascended immortal. If Lu Li were to stay here to guard, he might suffer from Li Chang's sneak attack. He wouldn't even know how he died. Or he could summon a group of followers to make the situation even more chaotic. By then, he could easily assassinate Lu Li. Li Chang glanced over to Su Zishi and the others. Realizing that Lu Li was not here, Li Chang glared at the prefecture warriors with wrath. The official army guarding here looked at the mountain range in the distance and winked at Li Chang. Li Chang understood and waved to the official army beside him. You help here. I'll go take a look at the other side. It looks like they can't hold on any longer. After Li Chang finished speaking, he turned around and entered the black mist. Su Zishi pursed his lips and looked into the depths of the mountains, murmuring in a voice that only he could hear. Brother Lu, the pursuers are coming. Whether or not you can survive this calamity will depend on your luck. Lu Li did not go into the depths of the mountains. Instead, he hid in a ravine. His idea was simple. He would hide here and come out openly after the battle. Naturally, the bird-eyed man would not dare to kill him in public. It was not without danger for Lu Li to come in. On the contrary, it was very dangerous. First of all, the mountains were filled with black mist. This was not regular black mist, but demonic energy. Once Lu Li was affected by the demonic energy, he could become a demonist, a walking dead like those from the sect of supernatural beings. In the end, he would be killed mercilessly. Lu Li had thought about this. When a person was demonized, it was not important that the person was demonized. The person could be expelled at any time. What mattered was the soul. When a person's soul was demonized, that person would become a slave to the demon and a demonist. When it came to souls, Lu Li was confident. In his soul, there was a silver dragon that never let him down. That was why Lu Li had the courage to go into the mountains. The demonic energy was the first danger. The second was the demonized immortals. If Lu Li ran into them, there would be a fierce battle and he could be killed. The third danger was Li Chang. Li Chang would try his best to hunt Lu Li down. The mountains seemed to be large. Given Li Chang's speed, it would not take him long to search the entire mountain and find Lu Li. Should I stay here or go in the mountains? Lu Li stayed in the ravine. He made stone golems quickly. He had learned the 3rd level of the method of stone golems. Those stone golems were not strong, but they could confuse the situation and buy him some time, which would give him a chance to take advantage of. If Lu Li dashed into the mountains to find the prefecture warriors, Li Chang would not have the courage to kill Lu Li in front of so many prefecture warriors, even if he caught up. That being said, Lu Li could easily run into powerful demonists in the mountains. There was another possibility. Should Li Chang take action by force? Should Lu Li fight back, or should he accept death? If Li Chang fought back, Lu Li must take out the immortal's body. Once the immortal's body was exposed, Lu Li would be in bigger trouble. If Commander Yi wanted the immortal's body, Lu Li would die for sure. Never mind. I will wait here. If Li Chang comes, I will put up a desperate fight. Lu Li made stone golems quickly and let out the deaf Taoist. He also let the immortal's body out of the wicked bead and put it into an interspatial ring. After all this was done, Lu Li waited quietly. He took long breaths. His face was emotionless, but inside, he was extremely nervous. To be a prefecture warrior, one must have special skills and abilities higher than an average immortal. Otherwise, one would not be qualified to be a prefecture warrior. Inevitably, some of the dark fog seeped into Lu Li's body. Some of the dark fog was seeping into his soul. Buzzing, after a moment, the silver knife in Lu Li's soul glowed. The dark energy was all consumed by the silver dragon. Okay, Lu Li could put his mind at ease. At least, the demonic energy could not corrupt him. He could put up a good fight. He had chosen a good hiding spot. It was in the middle of the mountains with trails on both sides. More and more followers came down, but they were heading toward the 2 trails. Lu Li restrained his energy. None of the followers came toward him. Oh no, a moment later, in the distance, an old man climbed over the mountain and dashed toward Luli. Judging by the speed of that man, he must be more powerful than an average immortal. That old man was surrounded by the dark fog, and his body was covered in black blood. He must be a powerful warrior from the sect of supernatural beings who had broken through the encirclement. What? Before the old man got close, he had already seen Luli with his blood-red eyes. Luli's heart skipped a beat. That man was charging toward Luli in a frenzy. Deaf Taoist, go and stop him. Don't be corrupted. Luli waved his hand. At the same time, he mobilized over a dozen stone golems to stop the old man. Luli wanted to see if he could stop the old man or lure him away. Otherwise, the battle here would attract the attention of prefecture warriors nearby. The region of doom is next to the realm of demons. I might be afraid if it is a powerful demon. The demonic energy of this demonist cannot harm me. The deaf Taoist bellowed into the sky. He grew into a giant with a height of more than 100 feet and dashed toward the demonist fearlessly. *T. Will you die if you don't act tough? Chapter 12:25. Boom, 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 boom. Right at that moment, from the top of the mountain came several loud noises. Then someone shouted, "The chief of the sect of supernatural beings is not dead yet. Someone, come and kill him. If he comes back to life, we will be in big trouble." It was Commander Ye's voice. Luli was relieved. Commander Ye's words came at the right time. Otherwise, prefecture warriors nearby would be attracted over. The deaf Taoist was a creature from the region of doom. Some prefecture warriors could tell. That would be troublesome. Bang! The deaf Taoist's huge stone column smashed against the demonist. Both he and the demonist were knocked away. That demonist had an iron rod in his hand. It was not as thick as the deaf Taoist's, but it was definitely a relic. The rod was glowing. Roar! The demonist came back after he was knocked away. He swung the cyan rod. Several stone golems were smashed away. 2 stone golems were crushed. The deaf Taoist kept on fighting the demonist. Their abilities were about the same. Every time they made a move, the demonist would be knocked away. Their speed and strength are about the same. Luli nodded. Before the demonist was demonized, the demonist would be more powerful than the deaf Taoist. Now that the demonist had been demonized, he had lost his soul. He could only rely on his physical body. Inevitably, his abilities would be weakened. A while later, Luli stopped paying attention. He said, "Deaf Taoist, lure the demonist away and come back at once." The deaf Taoist nodded. The next time they exchanged blows, the deaf Taoist was forced to move to the left. Then he was slowed down. In this way, the demonist could be lured to another direction. Okay. After a while, the deaf Taoist successfully lured the demonist to the left for 3 miles. Luli was relieved. The battle had been going on for a long time, but no prefecture warriors came. Most of them must have gone to the top of the mountain. Nobody paid attention to Luli. Wait. Luli looked to the right. From the depth of his soul, he sensed fatal danger. Without hesitation, he released his armor and controlled dozens of stone golems to the right. Swish! With a shrill noise, Luli used psychic power to check. He saw a blue spear in the void, glowing in red, gold, and cyan. Bang, bang, bang. One by one, the stone golems rushed forward, but they were instantly pierced by the spear. The stone golem's battle prowess was comparable to that of the weakest deities, but under the spear, they were like tofu dregs, shattering upon contact. They could not even affect the speed of the spear in the slightest. Amazing. Luli sensed the 2 triangular-eyed eyes behind the spear with psychic power. Killing intent rose in Luli's eyes. The triangular-eyed prefecture warrior was haunting him. Buzz, a divine weapon, appeared in his hand. Without any hesitation, he suddenly slashed at that side. A blood-red light shone, and the power of heaven and earth suppressed the triangular-eyed prefecture soldier. The speed of the triangular-eyed prefecture soldier slowed down. "You do have some skills." Li Chong sneered, and the long spear in his hand trembled. The surrounding space suddenly fluctuated, and the surrounding power of heaven and earth was scattered. Li Chong slid downwards and easily dodged the blood-red ray of sword light. He rushed towards Lu Li like a fox. Why do you want to kill me? Even if you're going to die, you should at least tell me the reason. Lu Li did not run away. Holding the saber in his hand, he asked coldly. Li Chong moved closer and smashed the stone golems that were coming at him. Coldly, he said, the reason is simple. Someone bought your life with 1,000,000 divine sources. Yin Tian Gang, right? Lu Li sneered. The interspatial ring on his hand glowed. He was ready to let out the immortal's body at any time. Yin Tian Gang? I don't know him. Li Chong was taken aback. Then, he said with mockery, I don't mind telling you. It is Commander E from the Office of Creation nearby who wants to buy your life. Punk, your life is worth 1,000,000 divine sources. You can die without regrets. Commander, he, God of Wings. Lu Li was taken aback. He had thought that it was Yin Tian Gang who took action. He did not expect that it was God of Wings who came to kill him first. Commander, it seemed that God of Wings was at the same level as Commander Yi, just an immortal on the list. How could God of Wings mobilize so much energy? How much trouble would Yin Tian Gang cause? Lu Li could not imagine. He did not have the time to think. Looking at Li Chong, who was getting closer, Lu Li used psychic power to check the surroundings. Making sure that there were no prefecture warriors, Lu Li's interspatial ring glowed. A headless immortal's body came out. Whoosh! As soon as the immortal's body came out, he dashed toward Li Chong in a flash. At the same time, Lu Li swung his saber and released the Slayer's move. Li Chong was surprised. He stared at the immortal's body in confusion. The immortal's body was strong and fast, even faster than Li Chong. If the immortal's body was dead, then how could he have such a horrifying energy and be so fast? Was the body of a mighty warrior in the divinity? But Lu Li was an immortal who had just ascended. How could he have the body of a mighty warrior in the divinity? Li Chong was confused for a moment. He was not far away from Lu Li, and the immortal's body was coming. Li Chong had a stab at the immortal's body's chest with his spear. Swish, but he forgot one thing. Lu Li was using the Slayer's move. Force in heaven and earth was pressing down on Li Chong. Li Chong was slowed down. On the other hand, the immortal's body was not affected. He punched at Li Chong's head. Boom! The immortal's body was strong. Li Chong was smashed away. The strength and strange energy in the immortal's body's fist seeped into Li Chong's body. Li Chong felt his head was going to explode. Boom! Li Chong's body was heavily smashed into the mountain range, creating a large hole in the mountain range. Lu Li used psychic power to check and found that Li Chong was bleeding. Delighted, Lu Li ordered, Blood Fairy, kill Li Chong. Do not let him escape. Whoosh! Almost at the same time, Lu Li sprang up and dashed toward the mountain. Kill when you are weak. Prefecture warriors were the official force. Would there be serious consequences if Lu Li killed Li Chong? Lu Li was not sure. But since Li Chong wanted to kill him, Lu Li could not be merciful. He had to kill Li Chong first. Bang! The mountain cracked. Li Chong flew up. Under his helmet, his head was tainted with blood. His head shook and his eyes squinted. He seemed to be in a delirious state. Swish! The immortal's body flew up. Lu Li could not fly in the divinity, but the immortal's body was not affected. It was easy for him to fly at a low altitude. Sensing the fatal danger, Li Chong finally came back to his senses. Seeing that Lu Li was using the Slayer's move to coordinate with the immortal's body, Li Chong shouted, Lu Li, no. Li Lu, how dare you attack prefecture warriors? Are you courting death? Despicable, Lu Li cursed himself. Li Chong's shout must have been heard by prefecture warriors. If Li Chong died, this debt would definitely be placed on his head. Charge! The arrow was knocked. It had to be fired. Chapter 1226. Boom! Once again, Li Chong was smashed away. The cooperation between Lu Li and the immortal's body was perfect. The Slayer's move could suppress Li Chong, but the immortal's body was so fast that Li Chong could not dodge. Stop, Li Lu, stop! It had to be said that Li Chong's defense was very strong. He was hit twice by the god's corpse, and it was even on his head, but he was still alive. He roared hysterically, "Li Lu, stop attacking. Otherwise, Commander Yi won't let you off. Stop. Help. Li Lu is attacking a prefecture soldier. He wants to kill me." Whoosh, from the distance came two noises. Lu Li's heart was weighed down. Some prefecture warriors were alarmed by Li Chang's cry for help. If two official army soldiers came, he would not be able to leave this place alive. "Lu Li, don't kill me." Li Chang saw that the immortal's body was coming again. This time, Li Chang did not yell. Instead, he said in a low voice, "Lu Li, as long as you don't kill me, we could talk it over. I will do my best to protect you. I will pretend that nothing happened this time. I will not find trouble with you in the future. I will even give you a lot of divine roots. If you kill me, you'll have no other choice but to escape." Kill. Lu Li's face was expressionless. His heart was as firm as iron. He did not believe in Li Chang's nonsense. When the two nearby official army soldiers rushed over, Li Chang would immediately join forces with the two official army soldiers to kill him. Boom! The immortal's corpse punched Li Chang's head again. This time, Li Chang couldn't take it anymore. His head exploded, and the armor left his body floating in the air. "Immortal corpse, take me away." After killing Li Chang, Lu Li only had time to take his interspatial ring. He didn't even take the relic armor or weapon. He ordered the rest of the stone golems to charge at the two official army soldiers, while he fled to the edge of the mountain range with the immortal's corpse. "Death Taoist, come back. If you don't leave now, you can just wait for death here." The immortal's body flew at a low altitude, dashing toward the Death Taoist like a sharp sword. Lu Li shouted as he approached the Death Taoist. Whoosh! The Death Taoist left the demonist alone. He dashed toward Lu Li and vanished between Lu Li's eyebrows in a blur. "Charge out!" Lu Li waved his saber and ordered the immortal's body. Killing a prefectural soldier was a serious crime. He knew that he would definitely die if he did not escape immediately. The immortal's corpse was very fast. In the blink of an eye, it had rushed to the outskirts of the mountain range, leaving the two pursuing official guards far behind. "Stop Li Lu! He killed an official soldier!" shouted a prefecture guard who caught up from behind. There was a group of God Spirit laborers on the outskirts of the mountain range, and there was another prefecture guard here. As long as they could stall Lu Li for the time, for one breath, they would be able to catch up. More than a dozen immortal slaves and a prefecture warrior were gathered around the mountain. They were stunned to see Lu Li dashing over and hear the prefecture warriors roar. Among the dozen were immortals that ascended at the same time as Lu Li. They stared at Lu Li in shock. How could Lu Li be so ferocious? He even dared to kill a prefecture guard? Was he trying to defy the heavens? "Stop!" The prefecture warrior came to his senses. He flew up and pointed at Lu Li with his spear. "If you don't stop, you will face the consequences. Piss off." The saber in Lu Li's hand glowed. He bellowed, "Those who stand in my way will die." It was a matter of life and death. Even if it was Commander Yi in front of him, Lu Li would not hesitate to kill him, not to mention a prefecture warrior. Stopping would mean death. Swish! A ray of blood-red sword light came out. That prefecture warrior was about to attack when he saw a red light. He had entered a world of blood, but his soul was strong. He came back to his senses at once. He twisted his body, and the force in heaven and earth that was suppressing him was dispersed. Ignoring the ray of blood-red sword light, he stabbed at Lu Li. "Immortal's body, stop it!" Lu Li and Blood Fairy said. The immortal's body turned around and used his back to block the spear. Boom! The immortal's body was smashed away from more than 100 feet, but that prefecture warrior was smashed away for thousands of feet. Since the immortal's body had blocked the spear, Lu Li was not injured. He only found it hard to breathe because of the pressure from the previous attack. "Let's go." Lu Li dared not to stay any longer. He let the immortal's body take him away. The immortal's slaves came to their senses. They pretended that they were going to stop Lu Li. However, nobody dared to do it. Lu Li could kill immortals and smashed away a prefecture warrior in one move. They would only stop Lu Li if they were tired of living. "Li Lu," one of the two pursuing official soldiers roared, "You can't escape. Once you're listed as a wanted man, the prefecture's hunting squad will hunt you down. You won't survive more than a few months with your meager combat strength. Luli did not care. He let the immortal's body take him and flew away. The immortal's body was faster than the prefecture warriors, but the 3 prefecture warriors were hot on his heels. Luli did not choose a path. He let the immortal's body take him in a straight line. His main goal was to get rid of the pursuers. The rest could be dealt with later. Blood Fairy, good job. Sensing that the pursuers were getting further and further away, Luli felt a bit relieved. Blood Fairy had taken control of part of the formations in the immortal's body, which increased his abilities and speed. Otherwise, Luli would not have been able to run away. Luli did not let his guard down. He let the immortal's body fly on. Though the immortal's body could only fly up to 12 feet, flying was faster than running on the ground. Given the current situation, it should not be a problem for him to get rid of the pursuers. Blood Fairy turned to the left. Luli remembered that the mountain of vicissitudes was on the right. Therefore, he told the immortal's body to fly to the left. Who could tell when the fight over at the sect of supernatural would end? If it ended early, Commander Yi would order prefecture warriors to ride on beasts of the void to chase after Luli. The beasts of the void were much faster than the immortal's body. Luli could not fly in a straight line. Fortunately, the fight over at the sect of supernatural was still ongoing. Otherwise, it would be impossible for the immortal's body to run away given his speed. Commander Yi only needed to organize some beasts of the void to search for Luli. In a couple of hours, he could find Luli. The wind was howling in his ears. The mountains on both sides were moving backward. In front of him was a forest filled with mist. Luli's vision became blurry. At this moment, he was in a trance. He did not regret killing Li Chong. He was just confused. What should he do in the future? Without citizenship, he could not enter any city. Soon, he would be wanted by the Vicissitudes house. The hunting teams of the prefecture would be sent out to hunt him down all over the world. The divinity was vast and vast. Yet, Luli did not feel he had a safe place. He did not even know where to go. All he knew was that he must get out of the Vicissitudes house. But he did not know how large the Vicissitudes house was. Where should he go to get away from the Vicissitudes house as soon as possible? In the distance, the sky darkened. It seemed to be raining. The world was hazy, just like Luli's mood. For the first time, he felt the divinity was so strange. He felt he had been abandoned by the world. Chapter 12:27. After flying for 2 hours and changing directions 3 times, Luli finally calmed down after thinking for 2 hours. He had some clear ideas. No matter what, the first thing he had to do was to survive the upcoming pursuit. There should be 2 groups of people chasing after him. The first group was sent by Commander Yi, and the second group was sent by the prefecture's hunting squad. If he had only escaped, Commander Yi probably would not have sent a large number of people to hunt him down. However, he had killed triangular-eyed Li Chong, who was an official army soldier. Commander Yi would definitely not let him go. At the very least, they would send people to hunt him down for a while. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to explain themselves to their superiors. The prefecture's hunting squad wouldn't be able to catch up so quickly. It would take at least half a month for the news to spread to the prefecture and for the hunting squad to be mobilized. In the next few days, Commander Ye's pursuit would definitely arrive. After all, the Void Beast's speed was too fast. I need to find a place to hide. Luli looked around, trying to find a suitable place. He knew that it would not work in an ordinary place, as the official army's spiritual force was very powerful. Even if they found some caves, the official army would probably go down to investigate. Roar, roar, while he was deep in thought, an earth-shattering roar suddenly came from a ravine in front of him. Next, a huge beast stood up, its body as tall as the mountain. It was a giant beast that looked like a blood ape. It had the head of a lion and 2 white horns. There were sharp spikes on its shoulders, and its fangs were very long. There were also spikes on its elbows and 10 fingers. They flickered with a cold light, and a single look at them would cause one's heart to palpitate. Appearance alone was not enough to scare Luli. Chi and blood were the main thing. The energy of the beast was like a blood moon. Even though it was more than 30 miles away from Luli, he still felt out of breath. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Without any hesitation, Luli's interspatial ring glowed as he let out the more than a dozen stone golems he made on the way. He controlled the stone golems to disperse and dash toward the wild beasts. Along the way, he had already thought of how to deal with desolate beasts. Desolate beasts had low intelligence. As long as the stone golem attacked it, the desolate beast would be angered and chase after the stone golem. Then he could sneak away. As expected, the two stone golems at the front charged at the desolate beast. As the stone golems did not have any signs of life, the desolate beast did not care at first. He had been glaring at Li ferociously, but he was hit on the head by a stone golem. Although the stone man's battle prowess was not considered strong, it was still comparable to a deity's strength. This punch did not injure the desolate beast, but made it feel pain. Roar, roar, the desolate beast was instantly enraged. It waved its huge claws and slammed them onto the stone man. The stone man's defense was very strong, but it was easily smashed into pieces. Whoosh, whoosh, one by one, the stone golems dashed toward the wild beast from 3 directions. The wild beast stared at the stone golems in rage and paid no more attention to Luli. Go! Luli told the immortal's body to fly close to the mountain and take a detour. By the time all the stone golems were smashed, the immortal's body had taken Luli away. Blood Fairy, take the wicked bead and leave. I will go in and make some stone golems. Luli took out the wicked bead and went in. The immortal's body grabbed the wicked bead and ran on. Fortunately, Blood Fairy had taken over the immortal's body, which meant that the immortal's body had a soul. Otherwise, without Luli's control, who knew where the immortal's body would go? Buzz, back in the wicked bead, Luli let the deaf Taoist out to consume the spring gold and look after Little White. Luli gave the deaf Taoist hundreds of pieces of spring gold. He realized that he did not have to go back to the Valley of Vicissitudes. The spring gold was useless to him. The deaf Taoist could improve his abilities and be of great help to Luli. Luli checked on Little White and began to make stone golems. He would teleport one to the outer hall as soon as he made one. This time, he planned to fill the outer hall with stone golems so that they could come in handy at critical moments. The stone golems were not powerful, but they were perfect for distracting enemies and distracting wild beasts. Practice made perfect. Luli was fast in making stone golems. This time, he did not make 100. Instead, he made over 300 stone golems, which filled up the outer hall. Previously, Luli could only make 100 stone golems because his soul would be weakened if he made more. But now it was different. He had a soul that was much stronger. It was easy for him to make 200 to 300 stone golems. Okay, after half a day, Luli rested for the time for 1 incense stick to burn. He did not go out. Instead, he asked Blood Fairy, "Is everything okay?" "It's fine. I managed to shake off a desolate beast." Blood Fairy added, "But I didn't find any good hiding places. We must find a place as soon as possible, or our pursuers will be here." Half a day had passed. The fight at the sect of supernatural beings must have come to an end. If Commander Yi were to mobilize the beasts of the void to hunt them down, in a day at most, some beasts of the void would catch up. Previously, Luli sensed the speed of the beasts of the void. The beasts of the void were at least a dozen times faster than the immortal's body. At this rate, the beasts of the void would catch up. Luli was thinking. He was about to go out and check the terrain when Blood Fairy suddenly said, "Oh no, I think there's a lair of wild beasts up ahead. There are so many wild beasts. Master, we are in trouble." Luli used psychic power to check. Ahead of him was a spooky basin. Above the basin, dozens of shadows were flying up. All of them were huge, desolate beasts with wings on their backs. They looked like golden-winged rocks, but their fur was blue and they had 4 eyes. "What are you panicking about?" Luli calmed down soon. He had over 300 stone golems. They could distract the dozens of wild beasts easily. Wild beasts had low intelligence, which was their weakness. Also, Luli was in the wicked bead, and the immortal's body was lifeless. Therefore, to the wild beasts, the stone golems were no different from the immortal's body. This is a nice place. Luli used psychic power to check the spooky basin. There was a layer of dark fog that could isolate psychic power. Let's take a gamble. This is the moment of life and death. Luli thought about it. Suddenly, he did something strange. He cut his own chest so that his blood dyed his cyan robe red. Then, he dashed out, tore his robe, and threw it to the ground. The wicked bee glowed. Over 30 stone golems dashed toward the wild beasts while the others fled to different directions. Let's go in. When all was done, Luli went into the wicked bead with the immortal's body. He turned the wicked bead into a pebble and rolled down into the bushes. Bang, bang, bang. Soon, the stone golems were crushed by the birds and wild beasts. Luli was delighted to find that. Those birds were not intelligent. They did not mind the wicked bead and went after the stone golems. Nice! Luli was overjoyed. He quietly rolled the wicked bead along the ground toward the basin step by step. He wanted to take a gamble that the wild beasts could not sense the wicked bead. If the wild beast did not care about the wicked bead, then he could hide in the basin. There were so many wild beasts in the basin. Theoretically speaking, when Commander Ye's pursuers came, they would only check around but not fight with the wild beasts. The stone golems were Luli's skill. He tore his cyan robe that was stained with blood. Usually, when the pursuers saw his cyan robe and the stone golems, they would assume that Luli had died in the wild beast stomachs. They would not go to the basin to check. What was more, the dark fog in the basin could isolate psychic power. The wicked bead could turn into a pebble. Without careful observation, one would not notice the inhibition formations of the wicked bead. If Commander Yi believed that Luli was dead, Luli could run away and leave the vicissitude house. Of course, the premise was that the wild beast would not care about the wicked bead. Chapter 1228. The wicked bead rolled toward the depth of the basin quietly. Luli was glad to see that almost all the wild beasts had flown out, except for a newborn one. The newborn was only about 10 feet in size. Its big eyes were filled with curiosity. It flapped its wings, but could not fly up. It could only flop around in the basin. The wicked bead's arrival caught the attention of the newborn. The newborn threw a glance at the wicked bead before it pounced over and slapped at the wicked bead with its paw. Luli did not control the wicked bead to fight back. He let the wicked bead take its natural course and was knocked away. The wicked bead rolled under a boulder. The newborn walked over and stared at the wicked bead. Seeing that the wicked bead was not moving anymore, the newborn shook its head and curled up nearby. Leaning against the boulder, the newborn fell asleep. Good. Luli secretly used psychic power and was overjoyed. The wicked bead was under the newborn. It should be the safest place. Even if someone came to check, they would be distracted by the newborn. Nobody would notice the wicked bead. Whoosh, whoosh. Not long afterward, all the wild beasts came back. Luli checked and did not make any noise, fearing that the wild beasts would notice the wicked bead. Good. What delighted him was that none of the wild beasts looked at him when they came back. Only one of them glanced at the newborn and then left it alone. Phew, Luli observed for a while. Making sure that it was safe, he was relieved. This was the best place to hide. He just had to wait for Commander Ye's pursuers to come and see if he could avoid detection. According to his speculation, it was highly likely that he could avoid detection. After all, he was a nobody. Killing a prefecture warrior was not a big deal. What was more, it was Commander Yi who wanted his life. She was not a commander or patriarch of the vicissitude house. She did not have that much power. At best, she could buy over 1 or 2 prefecture warriors. The bird-eyed man was killed. The other prefecture warriors would not be so desperate. Should I try to dissolve the 5th seal of the wicked bead? Luli had an idea. He could have dissolved the 5th seal of the wicked bead after he became an immortal. But he never had the time. Now that everything was fine and safe, he naturally had to refine it as soon as possible. There were 6 layers of seals in the wicked bead. With each layer, new abilities and skills would emerge. Luli was looking forward to it. What else could the wicked bead bring him after the fifth seal was dissolved? He poured divine energy into the wicked bead. The wicked bead glowed, but it was weak. Since the wicked bead was under the wicked bead, the other wild beasts did not notice. Of course, it was also because the desolate beasts had low intelligence. They were only especially sensitive to life auras. The wicked bead was glaring. Wild beasts would not notice unless they saw it. Now that the wicked bead was suppressed, the other wild beasts would not notice. Luli put his mind at ease after a while. He sped up the wicked bead and cultivated divine energy at the same time. An hour later, Luli had gained some confidence. Although he had divine power now, it would take some time to completely refine the fifth seal. It would take at least 2 or 3 months. Emperor Hang's seal was still very strong. What level was Emperor Hung at? Did he seal his throne in the 9 realms, or was it sealed after he came to the God realm? Luli thought of something. In the divinity, those that could be titled as emperors were the best. Take Emperor Z and the Slayer, for example. If Emperor Hung was as strong as the Slayer and Emperor Z, how could he have died so easily? Luli believed that Emperor Hung was titled as an emperor in the mortal world. Warriors in the 9 universes were used to calling him that. Emperor of Heaven Reverse, for example, was a matter of habit. Emperor Hung was not strong, but he was not weak either. He must have reached the level of a mighty warrior in the divinity. Otherwise, the seal would not be so strong. Half a day later, Luli felt bored. He had to check the outside every now and then. Therefore, he could not concentrate on studying the fundamental principle. Cultivating divine energy and taking control of the wicked bead did not require much attention. He only needed to cultivate and pour divine energy in mechanically. Let's read books on inhibition formations. Luli teleported to that hall. While cultivating and pouring divine energy in, he took out a book and began to read with great interest. Previously, he was not interested in such books, but recently, he was particularly interested. In those books on inhibition formations, there were many truths in heaven and earth. The paths of cultivation were interconnected. How could inhibition formations be created? By imitating the laws of heaven and earth. In the end, inhibition formations relied on the force of heaven and earth to attack or to release various skills. This was no different from warriors learning fundamental principle and laws of heaven and earth. It was a different approach to achieve the same result. Even though the books on inhibition formations did not help him learn the fundamental principle, Luli believed that in the future, it would be of great help. Another thing was that after Luli finished reading all the books, he could figure out a way to forge relics. If he could forge high-quality relics, not only would his abilities be improved, but he could also gain a vast amount of divine sources. Without divine sources, Luli could not make any progress in the divinity. If he had a large number of divine sources, not only could he ask the space-time office to send him back to the 9 universes, but he could also buy over many warriors to help him find Lu Ling. What surprised Luli was, it had been 4 days and no pursuers had caught up with him. Theoretically speaking, the beast of the void was so fast that there should have been some pursuers here to check. Luli didn't mind. He kept on reading while he continued to consume the wicked bead and cultivate divine energy. After all, this was the best place for him to hide. If he was discovered here, then it would be fate. He planned to hide here for half a year and see where he should go. Whoosh, whoo, after another 3 days, there was a sonic boom from afar. Following that, all the desolate beasts in the area were alarmed. All the desolate beasts soared into the sky and headed towards the northwest. They are here. Luli stopped consuming the wicked bead at once. He used the wicked bead to check. He noticed that the little wild beast was alarmed as well. That being said, the little beast did not move. Instead, it raised its head and looked toward the northwest with curiosity. Above the basin, there was a layer of dark fog. The dark fog was actually from the wild beasts, which blocked Li's psychic power. Luli did not dare to check it well. He had to listen to the noises outside to gauge the situation. Boom, boom, boom. There was a fight going on. Luli could hear the roars of the wild beasts. He could also hear warriors shouting. He seemed to hear the words clothes and stone golems. But he was too far away, and the wild beasts were yelling. He could not hear them clearly. Well, after a while, Luli was relieved to hear that the noises of the battle were getting further away. It seemed that the prefecture warriors did not want to fight the wild beasts to the death. They must have left after they found the stone golems and blood robe. Luli should be safe now. Wait! All of a sudden, Luli heard a noise. Then the little wild beast was alarmed and roared into the sky. Chapter 1229. Luli did not have the courage to check. He did not even have the courage to sense what was going on outside. At the moment, if he were to do anything out of the ordinary, the scouts would notice. Those that dare to sneak into the basin must be good scouts. However, the roars of the small wild beast alerted the wild beasts in the distance. With some angry roars, several wild beasts came back. It was a prefecture warrior. He heard the roars of the wild beasts in the distance, but he did not panic. Quickly traversing the basin, he used his divine sense to scan the entire basin before slipping away from the other side. Woo-woo, those wild beasts came back and went after that prefecture warrior. Luli finally had the courage to check the surroundings. Luli was worried. Nobody could tell if this prefecture warrior had discovered the wicked bead. If so, a large number of prefecture warriors would be mobilized. There were dozens of wild beasts here. They looked scary. However, hundreds of prefecture warriors could kill them all easily. Should I leave, or should I stay here? Luli was hesitating. If he left, he might not be able to find such a good hiding place. On the other hand, if he stayed and was surrounded by dozens of prefecture warriors, he would be doomed for sure. The roars of the wild beasts were getting further and further away. An hour later, all the wild beasts came back. Only one of them had died. It seemed that not many prefecture warriors had come, and they did not fight. Never mind. I don't think I should leave. I will stay here. Luli thought about it and decided to stay hidden. He did not know how many prefecture warriors were searching nearby. It would be dangerous for him to go out now, and he would be spotted by prefecture warriors. Having made up his mind, Luli did not worry anymore. He continued to read while he took control of the wicked bead. The next few days were quiet. Not a single prefecture warrior came, which put Luli's mind at ease. 8 days later, Luli was alarmed. All the wild beasts were flying toward the south. Clearly, someone was approaching. What is going on? Luli frowned. He used the wicked bead to check. Soon, he noticed that someone had entered the basin and was checking with psychic power. Woo-woo, the small wild beast bellowed in rage. More wild beasts came back from the distance. That person ran away again. Something's wrong. Luli threw the book on the table. He was confused. Why didn't the prefecture warriors give up? Could it be that he suspects something? Since there were suspicions, why didn't they mobilize a large number of official soldiers to eliminate the wild beasts? All right, Luli rolled his eyes. He suddenly figured out the key to the matter. The official guard was probably not here to look for him, but for his belongings. In other words, he was here for the wicked bead. God of Wings had been coveting the wicked bead. She would not give it up even in the Heaven Reverse universe. Later on, she took over Zillion's body and tried to snatch the wicked bead. This time, she was willing to spend 1 million or more divine sources to kill him. Not to vent her anger, but for the wicked bead. God of Wings must be aware of the wicked bead's background, which was why she was willing to pay any price to get it. Whether Luli had died here or not, the wicked bead must be here. That was why the wicked bead would be sent here again and again. He had disguised the scene of him being killed by wild beasts. Therefore, his interspatial ring and the wicked bead must be left in the basin. His enemies would not give up. They would keep on searching. If they could not find anything, they would try to kill all the wild beasts. What to do? Luli frowned as he pondered. He could tell that there were not many of them, 2 or 3 at most. Otherwise, they would not have lured the wild beasts away and killed them directly. However, he could not move, or else he would be exposed. The scouts that came in did not come for the wicked bead directly. They must not have noticed. The little wild beast had been sitting here with the wicked bead under it. The scouts would be distracted by the little wild beast and would not notice the wicked bead. Silence was the best solution. Luli decided to wait patiently and wait for the right time. He could not afford to be careless, or the consequences would be even more serious. Half a day later, the group of wild beasts came back. Luli checked secretly and felt troubled. Another wild beast was gone. It seemed that the prefecture warriors had begun to clear out the wild beasts. They were going to turn the basin upside down or dissect the bodies of the wild beasts. They might suspect that Luli had been swallowed by the wild beasts, and that the interspatial ring and the wicked bead were all in the wild beast stomachs. The prefecture warriors had fewer people. They had to kill the wild beasts one by one and search step by step. Just as Luli had expected, a day later, another group of wild beasts flew out. That prefecture warrior came to the basin again. However, he was chased away by the wild beast that came back. Half a day later, the group of wild beasts came back. Another one was killed. Luli could tell what the enemy's strategy was. They were going to kill all the wild beasts and find the wicked bead, even if they had to dig deep. Half a day later, the wild beasts were lured out again. This time, nobody went into the basin to check. They must have thought that Luli had been swallowed by the wild beasts, and the wicked bead was in the wild beast stomachs. Deaf Taoist, how is your strength? Luli sent over the deaf Taoist, who was cultivating, and asked. The deaf Taoist came back to his senses and explained, I have consumed over a dozen pieces of spring gold, and my strength has improved a bit. If I want to progress quickly, I have to rely on spring gold, which is difficult. If there are other materials, I will be able to improve faster. But we cannot get them now. Other materials? Li's eyes glowed. He stood up and said, Come with me. Li brought the deaf Taoist to the third hall in the hall. There were many kinds of materials in the hall. The energy of many materials even scared Li. The deaf Taoist was frightened as well, especially when he saw an eyeball. He felt his soul was being sucked in. The deaf Taoist took 3 steps back in fright. Don't look at that eye, and don't look at the head on the left. Hurry up and see if there are any materials you need. We cannot stay here for too long, or something will go wrong. Luli said. The deaf Taoist calmed himself down and checked. A moment later, the deaf Taoist trembled and said in excitement, Red flake. There is red flake here. That is the best material. Even the demon kings have a hard time getting their hands on a peerless divine material. Li threw the deaf Taoist a glance and asked, Is that useful for your cultivation? Of course. The deaf Taoist nodded. Lord, where did you get these materials? I don't think even a mighty warrior in the divinity can get them. You have 3 pieces of red flake here, which are priceless. I think each piece is worth at least 1 million divine sources. So valuable. Luli was taken aback. There were mountains of materials here. If each of them was worth hundreds of thousands of divine sources, then he would be rich. Naturally, he did not get those materials, nor did Emperor Hung. They were the collections of that master craftsman, Tian Lingzi. Tian Lingzi was so rich. Could a master craftsman be as rich as a country? All right, don't ask so many questions. Take the red flake and go. Luli waved his hand. The deaf Taoist rushed out with 3 strange-shaped pieces of redwood in his hand. He was so overjoyed that he almost dropped to his knees in front of Luli. Hurry up and consume them. Chapter 1230. Woo-woo, the wild beasts were enraged. The prefecture warriors were skilled. Every time, they could run away and capture 1 or 2 wild beasts. The number of wild beasts in the basin was decreasing. 10 days later, half of the wild beasts were gone. Luli had been working on the seal of the wicked bead for a long time, but he had only dissolved 1/3 of the seal. Seeing that the number of wild beasts was dwindling, Luli had no other choice but to keep working on the wicked bead. He had to make as many stone golems as he could and hope that the deaf Taoist could improve as soon as possible. Blood Fairy had been studying the formations inside the immortal's body. However, the formations inside the immortal's body were too complicated. Blood Fairy had been working on it for a long time before she had a basic understanding of the outer layer. It would take a long time for the formation in the core area to be controlled so that the immortal's body could grow stronger again. According to Blood Fairy, it would take a few months to a year. She could not tell how long it would take. The immortal's body could only kill average prefecture warriors at the moment. He could barely compete with immortals on the list. Through this period of time, Luli had gained a general understanding of the abilities of low-level immortals. The boundaries of low-level immortals' abilities were blurred. They were all immortals, but the fundamental principles and skills they mastered were different. The time spent on cultivation varied. Even though they were the same realm, their abilities differed greatly. The weakest immortals were those who had just ascended. They had only learned the average fundamental principles and did not have powerful skills. Most of the immortals that ascended with Lu Li were at this level. Then came the immortals at Lu Li's level. He had mastered the Slayer's move and had some abilities. He could easily kill the weakest immortals. Then came the prefecture warriors. Every prefecture warrior had their own unique skills and abilities. Generally speaking, they were not weak. If Luli did not have the immortal's body and the Death Taoist, he would not be a match for prefecture warriors at the moment. Above prefecture warriors were the immortals on the list. Every immortal on the list was a powerful warrior. There were billions of immortals in the divinity, but only 1 million were on the list. The 1 million must have their own unique skills. Their comprehensive abilities were good. God of Wings was clearly an immortal on the list. Luli was not worried about the prefecture warriors outside. What worried him the most was God of Wings here? If the God of Wings were outside, then Luli would be in big trouble. Even if the Death Taoist could improve his abilities in a short time, Luli would not be able to escape death. It was impossible for a person's combat power to soar, especially when one reached the level of a deity. It was extremely difficult to improve every time one wanted to. The Death Taoist's abilities were similar to Lu Li's. Even if the Death Taoist consumed the Red Flake, the Death Taoist would only be able to defeat prefecture warriors. He was far weaker than an immortal on the list. Another 3 days passed by. Finally, the Death Taoist had consumed a complete piece of Red Flake. He did not take a rest and went on with the second one. Luli found it inappropriate to interrupt him. He continued to take control of the Wicked Bead and read books on inhibition formations patiently. There were fewer and fewer desolate beasts outside. These desolate beasts had low intelligence. Although they were very strong, as long as one knew their weaknesses, it was still easy to kill them. Man was the spirit of all living things, the ruler of all living things. Most importantly, man had high spiritual intelligence. He knew how to explore the true meaning of heaven and earth, how to borrow the power of heaven and earth, and how to use strategies and tactics. 10 days later, there were only 5 desolate beasts left. The small one was restless. It no longer stayed in the Wicked Bead and began to run around. Fortunately, that prefecture warrior never went into the basin again. But there were still several desolate beasts left. Luli believed that the enemies were about to arrive. There were people outside. The wild beasts were rushing out again. Luli used psychic power to check the Death Taoist. The latter had consumed the second piece of Red Flake. Luli interrupted the Death Taoist. Don't consume the last one. We are running out of time. You should first stabilize your realm. How much has your strength increased? The Death Taoist did not answer. He sat for the time for 3 incense sticks to burn before he opened his eyes. His eyes were glowing. Clearly, he was more energetic. He was emitting a vigorous energy. Phew, taking a deep breath, the Death Taoist stood up and stretched his bones. His bones were cracking. He bowed to Lu Li and grinned. I have improved a lot. My body is at least 10 times stronger. Lord, don't worry. I can face several prefecture warriors. As long as there are no immortals on the list, the average prefecture warriors cannot kill me. But I am afraid that there are immortals on the list. Luli forced a smile. A moment later, he said, Now, they have lured the remaining wild beasts away. Later, when they're about to kill the last 2 or 3 wild beasts, go out and find out what is going on. If possible, sneak up and kill them. If there are immortals on the list, try to buy them some time so that I can sneak away. Later, you can catch up with me based on our spiritual connection. Okay. The Death Taoist nodded confidently. Luli was still worried. He said to Blood Fairy, "Later, you and the Deaf Taoist will go out together. Look out for each other. If there are immortals on the list, do not fight them head-on. Try to run away." Luli could run away by himself. He was not fast enough, but with the Deaf Taoist and the immortal's body, he could be far away in an hour. It had been a long time. Commander Ye's team should have left by now. The hunting teams in the prefecture might not come out. After all, Luli was an insignificant person, and he had pretended to be dead. When the wild beasts were lured away again, the wicked bead glowed. Then the immortal's body and the Deaf Taoist came out. The small wild beast was struggling nearby. It was startled to see two strange people coming out from nowhere and rolled on the ground. Whoosh! Before the small wild beast could react, the wicked bead glowed and dashed into the distance in a blur. Afraid that the small wild beast would scream, the Deaf Taoist took out a stone column and smashed it, knocking the small wild beast out. "Let's go." The Deaf Taoist knew that the immortal's body was under the control of the blood vine. He waved his hand and dashed toward the wild beasts with the immortal's body. Whoosh! The wicked bead flew in the opposite direction along the mountain and soon vanished into the distance. The Deaf Taoist and the immortal's body snuck over. From the distance, they could see 3 prefecture warriors fighting against 3 wild beasts. The Deaf Taoist was relieved. The 3 prefecture warriors were from the Vicissitude House, but average ones. There are no immortals on the list. Charge! The 3 prefecture warriors were locked in a fierce battle with the wild beasts. It was the best time to launch a sneak attack. The Deaf Taoist transformed. He grew to 200 feet and was as strong as a wild beast. He was like a wild beast that was standing upright. The Deaf Taoist swung the huge stone column and dashed forward. The immortal's body sneaked to another prefecture warrior and launched a sneak attack. A beast from the region of doom. The 3 prefecture warriors were fighting against the wild beasts. They were stunned to see the Deaf Taoist dashing over. How come there was a beast from the region of doom? Shouldn't the region of doom be to the west of the divinity? How come there was a beast here? A powerful one at that? Whoosh! The immortal's body began another sneak attack. The 3 prefecture warriors took a look at the immortal's body. One of them yelled, "Luli is not dead. We are fooled. Inform Commander Wings." Bang! One of them crushed a gem-like jade talisman in his hand. However, the next second, the Deaf Taoist hit that warrior's head. Even though the warrior was wearing a helmet, he was bleeding and the helmet was broken. Bang! The immortal's body had succeeded. He smashed away a prefecture warrior. That prefecture warrior was unlucky. He was smashed into the wild beast's claw. The wild beast would not show mercy. The wild beast smashed on the prefecture warrior's head, and it exploded. Run! The other 2 prefecture warriors did not dare to stay any longer. They ran away like rabbits that had encountered an eagle. Go after them. Chapter 12:31. The pursuit went smoothly. The Deaf Taoist's abilities had been improved. His physical body was stronger, and so were his speed, strength, and defense. He was more capable than average prefecture warriors. Red Flake was a top-level material. Beasts in the region of doom mainly relied on their strong bodies. With such a material, any beasts in the region of doom could be strengthened. After the 2 prefecture warriors were killed, the Deaf Taoist and the immortal's body destroyed their corpses and went after Luli. Luli had been running for a while. He was not fast, but he had covered a distance of 300,000 miles. An hour later, the Deaf Taoist and the immortal's body caught up with Luli. Let's talk in the wicked bead. Luli went into the wicked bead with the Deaf Taoist and told the immortal's body to take the wicked bead. Once inside, Luli asked for details. Inform Commander Wings. Luli pulled a long face when the Deaf Taoist told him what the prefecture warriors said. Inform Commander Wings? Did that mean that God of Wings had come to the Vicissitude House? If God of Wings was at the Office of Creation, it would be pointless to inform her. Luckily, God of Wings is not here. Otherwise, you and the immortal's body would be doomed. Luli breathed in relief. God of Wings could become the leader of the Office of Creation and could afford millions of divine sources. God of Wings must be doing well. To have a good life in the divinity, one must have strong abilities. Let's run. Anyways, they must leave as soon as possible. The further they could go, the better. If God of Wings caught up with them, they would be in big trouble. Buzzing, Luli went into the hall with Little White and the Deaf Taoist. He picked up the books on inhibition formations and continued to dissolve the wicked bead. If he could dissolve the fifth seal of the wicked bead before God of Wings caught up with him, he might have more means to protect himself. Deaf Taoist, go ahead and dissolve the third piece of red flake. Luli told the Deaf Taoist to cultivate. The immortal's body would take the wicked bead with him. As long as they did not run into a large group of wild beasts, they should be fine. If anything happened, he could ask the Deaf Taoist to help. Luli fed Little White a divine source and went back to reading. He put one hand on the wall and poured in divine energy to dissolve the seal of the wicked bead. The next few days were very quiet. The immortal's corpse flew randomly without knowing where to go. They did encounter a city along the way, but the god's corpse did not dare to approach it for fear of being discovered by the prefecture army and being hunted down. Near the city, Luli went out to take a look. The cities in the divinity were large, even larger than the divine imperial city. Even from the distance, Luli could feel the vicissitudes of life. It must be lively inside. But Luli could only watch from afar, not daring to go any closer. Blood Fairy, pay attention and see if you can find any lone deities or divine servants in the vicinity. Luli told Blood Fairy. He had no sense of direction. He did not know where to go or which way to leave Vicissitude House. He couldn't enter any of Blue Flame Manor cities. Blue Flame Manor was no longer safe. He had no choice but to escape from Blue Flame Manor first and find a way to become a citizen of another prefecture. Only then would he be able to enter and exit cities freely and find a way to get to Divine Sword Mountain. In the divinity, his biggest support was Emperor of Heaven Reverse. Only by going to the Swords Mountain could he be completely safe. Only then could he cultivate and use the Sword Sect to find Lu Ling. I must go to the Swords Mountain. Once again, Luli made up his mind. He continued to take control of the wicked bead. He could only hope that God of Wings could not track him down. Master! 2 days later, Blood Fairy suddenly sent a message. There's a team up ahead, hunting wild beasts. They're just average immortals. There are 6 of them in total. They are all young immortals. I think they are out to gain experience. Really? Luli thought about it for a while. He dashed out and put away the immortal's body. He planned to go and ask on his own so that he would not alert the enemy. He used his divine telekinesis to scan the area and then swaggered over. 6 people were attacking a huge wild beast. All of them were immortals. They looked young, but they were wearing relic armors and holding relic weapons. They were majestic and extraordinary. Of the 6, 5 were males and 1 was a beautiful lady. The lady did not take any action. She was watching. The 5 young men were working hard at the wild beast. The wild beast was strong, but the 5 young men had their own skills and were quite capable. The wild beast was wounded. Blood was everywhere. The wild beast could be killed at any time. What? Luli swaggered over. Naturally, he alarmed the others. They looked at him coldly, alerted. That being said, they were relieved to see that Luli was alone and his chi was not strong. He was still young. Boom! By the time Luli arrived, the wild beast had been killed by a blonde young man in 1 blow. The blonde young man waved to the other 2, and they began to dissect the wild beast. The blonde young man walked to the pretty lady and asked Luli coldly, "Who are you?" Luli stood hundreds of feet in front of them. He cupped his fists and said, "Hello, I am out on an adventure and I have lost my way. I want to ask for a map." "Well, I can buy it with divine sources." "Map?" The blonde young man snorted. He waved his hand and said no. "Piss off." Luli touched his nose embarrassedly. This man was way too bossy. He was just asking for a map, and he had to pay divine sources for it. How could he tell Luli to piss off? Luli tried to be patient. He cupped his fist again and said, "I am on a trip. It is just a map. How many divine sources do you want to sell it to me? Divine sources? The blond young man sneered. I am not in need of divine sources. You are sneaking around, and I don't think you are a good guy. Adventure? How dare you wander around in the wilderness with such abilities? If you don't piss off now, I will not show you any mercy. You want to do this the hard way. Luli pulled a long face. No matter how he tried to persuade them, they would not give him face. Did they really think that he was afraid of them? Luli took out his relic weapon, pointed at the blond young man, and said, I am weak. Do you want to have a try? Ha ha ha. The golden-haired youth laughed out loud. He looked at the rest of them with a proud expression and said, You? Sure. If you can defeat me, I will give you the map. Swish, Luli did not refuse. He released the Slayer's move at once. Space began to tremble. A blood-red ray of sword light whooshed on. The blond young man's sight was occupied by the world of blood. The pretty lady next to the blond young man was frightened. She ran to the distance in a hurry. Luckily, Luli was targeting the blond young man, or else the young lady would not have been able to move. Bang! As expected, the young man was smashed away by the ray of sword light before he could react. Though he was not badly injured, he spat out some blood. Now, can you give me the map? Luli put away his saber and stared at the blond young man coldly. Unexpectedly, the blond young man flew into a rage. He waved his hand and said, Do it. Kill this bastard. You? Luli saw a group of people closing in. That pretty lady also took out a red saber, ready to kill Luli. Luli pulled a long face. He was overwhelmed with killing intent as he shouted, If you dare to make a move, don't blame me for killing you all. Chapter 1232. The golden-haired young man had thought that Luli was just a nobody, a scout from some force. He didn't expect Luli to be so powerful. What was more, Luli's means were scary as well. He must have some background. They had powerful backgrounds as well. They were not afraid of Luli, but on the off chance that they were killed, it would be an undeserved death. He forced himself to calm down and said, I am Tuobi Yi from the Mountain of Heavenly Sword. Who are you? The Mountain of Heavenly Sword? Luli had never heard of it. It must be a sect under the Vicissitude House. He replied indifferently, The Mountain of Heavenly Sword. So what? I don't want to be enemies with you. I just want a map. The pretty girl whispered in fear, Brother Yi, just give him a map. Our master told us not to cause any trouble. Cause trouble? Tuoba Yi sneered. Are we the ones causing trouble? He is the one who is looking for trouble. If we give in like this, how can the Mountain of Heavenly Sword face the world in the future? Brother 3, send a message back to our sect to get more people here. A young man took out a beautiful jade talisman and was about to crush it. Luli could tell that the situation was getting out of hand. He used Dragon Roar and shouted, Do you dare move? I will kill you right now. Dragon Roar did not have much effect. His voice was loud and clear, hurting everyone's eardrums and making them tremble. Carrying the relic weapon, Luli walked forward slowly. He stared at the young man with the jade talisman and said, If you dare to crush it, I will kill you. This is your last chance. Give me the map or die. Luli was getting closer and closer. His momentum was getting stronger and stronger. Even though it seemed to be a bluff, the 6 of them were under great pressure. Since Luli started his career, he had slaughtered his way to the top. Too many had died in his hands. He had been at the top for a long time, so he was imposing. Clearly, the 6 young men had grown up under the protection of their fathers. They were stunned. I will count to 3. If you do not give me the map, I will kill you. Luli pressed on. His voice was as cold as ice, like that of a demon from hell. 3, 2, 1. I will give it to you. Tuobi finally gave in. He took out a map and gave it to Luli. Then, feeling wronged, he said, Do you have the courage to leave your name? In the future, Heavenly Sword Mountain will be able to get back at them. Luli took over the map. He glanced at it, but paid no more attention to Tuobi Yi. He leaped up and rushed into the distance. Tuobi Yi was gnashing his teeth in anger, but he didn't dare to go after Luli. Luli was no weaker than the patriarchs of the Mountain of Heavenly Sword. Tuobi Yi was frightened. Who is this person? He's so young, yet he has such a powerful aura. The pretty lady blinked. A glint of surprise flashed in her eyes. Unfortunately, Luli had disappeared into the mountains in the distance. What are you waiting for? Dissect the desolate beasts and prepare to return. When Tuoba saw that no one moved, he angrily gave the order. The others hurriedly dismembered the wild beast, gathered all the divine materials, and started a fire to roast the meat. After eating and drinking their fill, the group was no longer in the mood to continue hunting desolate beasts. They headed southeast. There was a small city there, and they could teleport back to Heavenly Sword Mountain. After running for 8 to 10 hours, a void beast flew over from the distance. The 6 of them ignored him and continued to run. However, at that moment, the void beast stopped and opened its mouth. A beautiful woman flew out from within the void beast. She is so strong. She must be an immortal on the list at least. The 6 of them looked at the lady. She had a pair of wings on her back. She must not be a human being. The 6 of them bowed to her with respect. Their seniors had taught them to be respectful to powerful warriors. Otherwise, if they angered the powerful warriors, they would not even know how they died. Have you seen this man? The lady took out a portrait and asked coldly. Tuoba and the others looked up. Their eyes glowed when they saw that the portrait was of Luli. Tuoba answered, "Yes, I saw him half a day ago." "Oh." The lady was filled with killing intent. She asked where? Where'd he go? Run? The 6 looked at each other. Tuoba was overjoyed. This powerful warrior was going after Luli. Tuoba answered at once, "On the Snake Mountain over there. He injured me and asked me for a map of southern divinity. Lord, he is running to the northwest. Please go after him." He asked for a map? The green-haired lady nodded. She put on an enchanting smile. Tuoba and the others were mesmerized. This lady was not young. However, for immortals, they had a long lifespan. It was easy for them to live for tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. Therefore, age was not a factor. As long as one's appearance and body looked young, there would be no problem. In the divinity, strength was the most important thing. Those who were not compatible with each other, even if they were of the same age, would have a huge gap in status. It was impossible for them to be partners. This beautiful lady with green hair and wings was from a different world from Tuoba and the others. Their strengths were not on the same level. Tuoba and the others could only fantasize about her. Of course, it was the difference in strength and status that made Tuoba and the others want to conquer her. Buzzing, when the lady entered the beast of the void, it flew toward the northwest and vanished into the horizon in a blink. Tuoba watched as the beast of the void left. He was filled with killing intent. The beast of the void was fast. In a few days, it would catch up with Luli. Could Luli survive when an immortal on the list was chasing after an average one? Luli was in the wicked bead, letting the immortal's body take the wicked bead and run. He did not know that danger was approaching and that an immortal on the list was approaching him. He had a map in his hand, a map of southern divinity. The map wasn't particularly detailed, but every prefecture was clearly marked. The sects and powers of the south of the god world were also marked, as were some of the cities with unique topographies. The Vicissitude House is at the southernmost part of the divinity. Next to it is the Office of Creation. Well, why is the Sword's Mountain so far away? Luli was troubled after a few glances. The Sword's Mountain was at the northeast. To get to the Sword's Mountain from the Vicissitude House, one must cross at least 9 prefectures. How large were the prefectures in the divinity? Luli could not imagine. The Office of Creation is at the northwest. Blood Fairy, go to the east. Luli took a look and told Blood Fairy to change her direction. The shortest way to leave the Vicissitude House was through the Office of Creation. However, the Office of Creation was where God of Wings was. Luli would not walk into the trap. What was more, the Sword's Mountain was at the northeast. Luli had to go to the Office of Eastern Prayers at the northeast. Fortunately, Luli had changed his direction. Otherwise, in half a day, he would have been caught up with. However, he was lucky for only 8 days. 8 days later, he heard a noise. Blood Fairy was smart enough to inform Luli at once. Luli put away the immortal's body. The wicked bead turned into a regular pebble and rolled down the mountain. The next second, Lu Li's heart was weighed down. He heard a familiar voice. It was God of Wings. Lu Li, stop hiding. It is time to settle our score. Lu Li used psychic power to check. A beautiful lady flew out from the mouth of the beast of the void. God of Wings looked the same as the statue in the Valley of Feather. She had a stunning face, green hair, and green wings. Chapter 1233. As a matter of fact, God of Wings had been keeping an eye on Lu Li, on the Heaven Reverse Universe and the 9 universes. She cared more about the Wicked Bead than Yin Tian Gang. Besides, she was interested in the Slayer's move. She once obtained a document that detailed the uses of the Wicked Bead. She did not care about the Wicked Bead being a supreme relic. What she cared about was the treasures in the Wicked Bead, the materials left by Tian Lingzi, and the tens of thousands of books on inhibition formations in the hall. She did not know exactly how many treasures Tian Lingzi left behind, but she did have some information. She knew better than Lu Li the value of the items left by Tian Lingzi. The treasures left by Tian Lingzi were more valuable than 10 supreme relics. There was also the Slayer's move, which was created by a supreme warrior in the divinity. If she could learn some information from Lu Li and learn the Slayer's move, she might be able to reach the same height as the Slayer. Both the Slayer's move and the Wicked Bead were enough for God of Wings to pay any price. Therefore, as soon as she learned that Lu Li was ascending, she began to make arrangements. She sent someone to gather information. The Vicissitude House was near the Office of Creation. It just so happened that Lu Li had ascended to the Vicissitude House. She came as soon as she heard the news. She also bribed some prefecture warriors, such as Bird-Eyed Li Chong, just to capture Lu Li and get the Wicked Bead. Looking at the Wicked Bead, God of Wings was overjoyed, both physically and mentally. It was as if this was the first time she had met the man she loved the most. All her efforts were worth it. Compared to God of Wings' joy, Lu Li was troubled. An immortal on the list was much more powerful than a prefecture warrior. Could the immortal's body and the deaf Taoist deal with him? Such a shame. If only I could have another 10 days or half a month. Lu Li said to himself. Over 70% of the Wicked Bead seal had been dissolved. In half a month at most, the Wicked Bead could be dissolved. Could the deaf Taoist and the immortal's body survive for half a month? The immortal's body was strong. The deaf Taoist would be smashed to death. God of Wings. Lu Li thought for a while. He decided to buy some time. I know what you want. I can give you the Wicked Bead. But I have a request. God of Wing didn't care at all and said lightly, speak. While taking control of the Wicked Bead, Lu Li said, I want to live. Send me to the Swords Mountain. When we're close to the Swords Mountain, I will give you the Wicked Bead. Ha ha ha. The God of Wings giggled. Her breasts bounced up and down. She was wearing a green soft armor that jiggled and looked extremely alluring. Lu Li had to admit that even though they were enemies, as a man, he admired God of Wings' looks and temperament. But because of Zilian, Lu Li and she had become mortal enemies and could not be reconciled. God of Wings smiled and said, Lu Li, I have heard of Venerable Heaven Reverse. He is the master of the Sword Sect and a mighty warrior in the divinity. Are you insulting my intelligence? I will send you to the Swords Mountain and let the Honorable Heaven Reverse kill me. Then what do you suggest we do? Lu Li threw the problem to God of Wings. I want to live and I can give you the Wicked Bead. But how can you guarantee my survival? Survival is not a problem. The God of Wings ran her fingers through her hair. Her green hair rippled like water and was very beautiful. She said indifferently, You will become my god slave and work for me for 10 years. I will swear an over-God blood oath that I will send you away safely after 10 years. Fair enough, right? You should know that the almighty blood oath is the most solemn oath in the divinity. Anyone who breaks the oath will face death. Net slave. Lu Li sneered and refused decisively. That is not negotiable. You can kill me, and I can make the Wicked Bead explode. You can take the gamble. Explode? The smile on God of Wings' face grew wider. She shrugged and said, "Then how about you make the wicked bead explode? You are insulting my intelligence. The wicked bead cannot explode. I know the wicked bead better than you do." Luli sighed. God of Wings was too smart. That being said, Luli's intention was to buy some time. Therefore, he made up some nonsense. "Change your terms. I cannot agree to this." God of Wings said after a moment of silence, "I will send you to the city. You cannot use force in the city. Also, this is the vicissitude house. I will give you some divine sources, and you can live in the city. But you must tell me how to learn the Slayer's move, and give me the wicked bead as well." "The Slayer's move?" Luli curled his lips. God of Wings was greedy. "Send him to the city?" Luli asked. "I have killed a prefecture warrior of the vicissitude house. I'm not a citizen yet. How can I go to the city? I will be killed as soon as I enter the city, right?" "That is easy," God of Wings answered casually. "In the divinity, anything can be settled as long as you have divine sources. It is not a big deal that you killed a prefecture warrior. Commander Yi did not even report it. I will buy you the identity of a citizen. There's a big city to the northeast. The city owner is a general of the vicissitude house, a mighty warrior in the divinity. I cannot do anything in the city. What do you think? I have shown enough sincerity." "A big city?" Luli was intrigued. It would take time to get to the city. He could buy some time. God of Wings would not use force in the city. When Luli obtained the identity of a citizen, he could rush into the city directly. Luli asked, "What city is it?" "Let me see." "The Cyan Flame City," God of Wings explained. Luli checked the map. There was a mark nearby. It would take some time, a couple of days, to get there. "Okay." Luli agreed at once. "Then let's go to that city first. I will give you the wicked bead after you get me the identity of a citizen. Then come into the beast of the void. Your bead is too slow," God of Wings said readily. Luli hesitated for a moment. "I will fly there myself. Who knows if you have some tricks up your sleeve?" God of Wings snorted. A glint of coldness rose from her pretty face. "You cannot say no." Swish, swish, all of a sudden, the God of Wings reached out a beautiful hand. A giant hand appeared in the void. The hand grabbed the wicked bead and shrank back. Luli tried to fight back, but he could not control the wicked bead. The hand grabbed the wicked bead and threw it into the mouth of the beast of the void. Buzzing, after a glare, the wicked bead appeared in a small hall inside the beast of the void. God of Wings came in and said, "Luli, don't play tricks with me. I want to take control of the wicked bead. I can do it in 10 days or half a month. By then, I can crush you as easily as crushing an ant. It will take me 10 days to fly to the Cyan Flame City. If you cannot help me study the Slayer's move in 10 days, I will crush you when we arrive at the city." The beast of the void glowed and dashed away. God of Wings grabbed the wicked bead. Her hand glowed in a green light. She began to take control of the wicked bead slowly. She said with a smile, "I will give you 10 days. If you cannot satisfy me in 10 days, you will not only die, but I will also turn you into a ghost slave. Not only will you die, but I will also refine you into a ghost slave so that you can never reincarnate. You can only become the artifact spirit of my weapon." Luli felt bitter as he sensed that the wicked bead was being taken control of by God of Wings. He had thought that there was a glimmer of hope. However, in the face of absolute power, he was no different from an ant. God of Wings could do whatever she wanted to him. Chapter 1234. The beast of the void dashed away. God of Wings sat in a small hall leisurely. She was sipping tea in one hand and holding the wicked bead in the other. Her hand was glowing in a green light. She was slowly taking control of the wicked bead. As a matter of fact, God of Wings could intensify the process, but she was afraid that Luli would fight back. She was trying to crack Li's mind bit by bit. More importantly, she was afraid that Luli would destroy the treasures, especially the books left behind by Tian Lingzi. Those were the most valuable treasures. While Luli was dissolving the fifth seal of the wicked bead, he could sense that the entire wicked bead was being controlled. If the wicked bead was taken over by God of Wings, then even if he could take control of the fifth seal, it would only benefit God of Wings. But what could he do? He was like a beast trapped in a cage. There was nothing he could do. The deaf Taoist was taking control of the last piece of red flake. Even if he could take control of another 3 or 5 pieces, it would be pointless. After all, the difference in abilities was too great. Judging from God of Wings' abilities, the deaf Taoist's abilities were not enough. The immortal's body? If Blood Fairy had more time, there might be some hope. When she had full control of the formations in the immortal's body, she might be able to fight against God of Wings. Control. An idea came to Lu Li's mind. Could Blood Fairy control inhibition formations? Back in the days, she could control the city. If she could help Lu Li take control of the fifth seal, would it be faster? Though dissolving the fifth seal of the wicked bead might not be of great help to Lu Li, it was his only hope. Blood Fairy, Lu Li shouted and sent a message to Blood Fairy. Can you help me dissolve the seal in the wicked bead faster? Blood Fairy and Lu Li had a spiritual connection. Therefore, she could understand what Lu Li was doing. After a moment of silence, Blood Fairy replied, I need to check. Master, give me some time. A blood-red glow came out from the immortal's body's hand. Then, a vine reached out from the immortal's body and penetrated into the wall of the hall. Lu Li was worried. His only hope was the blood vine. If the blood vine couldn't do anything about it, he would be at the mercy of the God of Wings. His life would be in the God of Wings' hands. Time moved on. Half a day later, the blood vine showed no reaction. Apart from dissolving the seal, Lu Li had no other choice but to wait anxiously. One day later, Lu Li was taken aback. He realized that the speed at which he dissolved the seal had increased by more than 10 times. The seal was melting at a fast speed. All right, Blood Fairy, are you helping? Lu Li was overjoyed. He sent a message to Blood Fairy, who replied, Yes, Master. I have found out about the seal, and I have changed the composition of the formations inside. It should be easier to dissolve the seal now, right? Well done, Lu Li praised. Then, he said nothing else and focused on dissolving the 5th layer of the seal. Originally, it would have taken him at least 10 days to refine the seal, but with Blood Fairy's help, the speed had increased tenfold. Now, it would only take him 2 days at most. All right, Lu Li sent another message to Blood Fairy. Keep an eye on the wicked bead. God of Wings is dissolving the wicked bead. If it's possible, help to obstruct her and delay the speed of her refinement. Okay, Blood Fairy reached out her tentacles to sense the formations inside the wicked bead. Lu Li focused on dissolving the 5th seal. One day, 2 days later, the 5th seal of the wicked bead was broken. Lu Li's mind was flooded with some information. At the same time, on the left wall of the hall, there was a glow. On that wall, a door appeared out of nowhere. Lu Li sorted through the information in his mind. Then, he looked at the new door in confusion. The 5th seal was dissolved. The wicked bead did not have any new functions. There was only a core hall, which was the door that just appeared. What is in the core hall? Lu Li frowned. He was nervous. If there was nothing good in the core hall, or if the things inside could not help him deal with God of Wings, he would have no chance to turn the tables. Creak, he walked to the door that had just appeared, and with a gentle push of his hand, the door silently swung open. Lu Li stepped in. After a flash of white light, he found himself in a beautiful valley. What? Lu Li was shocked. He was in the hall, just now. How come he ended up in this valley as soon as he stepped into the core hall? Was he not in the wicked bead anymore? No, I am still in the wicked bead. Lu Li checked. He was still in the wicked bead, and so was the valley. It was just a unique space inside. Impressive, Lu Li exclaimed to himself. A bead could contain many halls. What was more, it could refine a unique space. It looked just like the real valley outside. There were even trees and ponds. Lu Li was not in the mood to appreciate the view in the valley. He looked around and soon, he noticed a cabin by the pond. There was nothing in this valley. The only place that could hide treasures was that wooden house. Lu Li walked to the cabin slowly. He tried to use his psychic power to check inside, only to realize that there was an inhibition formation that prevented him from seeing inside. Creak! He gently pushed the wooden door of the cabin open. The door was pushed open easily. Luli looked inside and was taken aback by what he saw, because he saw a person in there. No, it was not a person. It was a skeleton, a human skeleton. The skeleton sat on the ground with his legs crossed on a cushion with his back to Luli. The light in the room was dim, which made the skeleton appalling. Is this the remains of Tian Lingzi? Luli calmed himself down. He did not go in rashly. Instead, he bowed to the skeleton 3 times. The dead should be respected. What was more, the wicked bead belonged to Tian Lingzi, which was of great help to him. Luli walked in slowly after he bowed. He looked around the cabin. Soon, he noticed a small square table in front of the skeleton. This was because there was nothing in the wooden house except for the skeleton, a scroll of animal skin, and a small wooden box on the table. Walking around the skeleton, Luli walked to the wooden table and picked up the hide scroll and the small wooden box. On the top of the hide scroll, there were 5 words that confused Luli. It read, Warlord Qing Wujin. Warlord? Qing Wujin? Luli blinked his eyes and unrolled the animal skin roll. He glanced at the words inside, and then his eyes widened again. He stared at the skeleton sitting with his legs crossed as if he had seen a ghost. According to the hide scroll, this skeleton was not an average one, nor the remains of Tian Lingzi. It was a powerful weapon that Tian Lingzi crafted at a great cost. Chapter 1235. Is this skeleton an immortal of war? A weapon of mass destruction? Luli blinked. He felt Tian Lingzi was insulting his intelligence as he stared at the skeleton that was no different from a corpse. It would be understandable if it were a corpse like the immortal's body that had powerful formations and a strong body. But this was just a skeleton, and there didn't seem to be any runes or formations on the bones. Luli believed that if he punched at it, the bones would fall apart. Taking 10,000 steps back, even if these bones were very hard, so what? What could a skeleton do? It had no formations of energy. Was it supposed to smash its enemies to death with the skull? Luli glanced at the animal skin roll again and read every word in it. After reading it for 3 times, Luli still couldn't believe what he had read. According to Tian Lingzi's records, the skeleton was strong, but every time it was activated, it would consume a piece of blood crystal. Each piece of blood crystal could only allow the skeleton to use 1 move. Therefore, the skeleton should not be used unless it was absolutely necessary. As for how strong the skeleton was, Luli did not know because the scroll did not mention it. Luli thought for a moment. He opened the wooden box and found 6 blood-red crystals. He took them out and murmured with a frown, "Are these blood crystals?" Never mind. Luli was at his wit's end. He had to make every possible effort. He reached out a hand and held the skeleton's hand. Then, he poured divine energy into the skeleton. The scroll stated that in order to use the skeleton, one must consume it. Luli poured in divine energy for a moment, but the skeleton showed no reaction. Sitting face to face with the skeleton, Luli felt like an idiot. Once again, he wondered if Tian Lingzi was playing a prank on him. What? Something is happening. After pouring in divine energy for an hour, Luli suddenly noticed that the bones on the skeleton were glowing. It was as if a relic weapon was beginning to show its edge. Go on. Luli was excited. He poured more divine energy into the skeleton. The glow on the skeleton was getting brighter. Luli was getting more excited. Tian Lingzi did not lie to him. Was the skeleton really a weapon of mass destruction? Time passed bit by bit. Although the skeleton gradually lit up, there was still no spiritual connection. Luli was not in a hurry. God of Wings needed time to take control of the wicked bead. Luli still had a chance. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. What troubled Luli was that even though every bone of the skeleton was glowing and every bone seemed to have become a sharp weapon, there was no spiritual connection with him. Since there was no spiritual connection, he couldn't control the skeleton. It had been 6 days. God of Wings had been consuming the wicked bead for 6 days. Luli could tell that God of Wings had consumed more than half of the wicked bead. The spiritual connection between him and the wicked bead was weakening. Maybe in a day or two, the wicked bead would belong to the God of Wings. Once the wicked bead was in God of Wings' hands, she would have nothing to worry about. Luli would be in her hands. They could do whatever they wanted to Luli. The deaf Taoist and the immortal's body could not stop God of Wings. During these 6 days, God of Wings didn't say anything to Luli. She didn't ask about the Slayer's move. It meant that God of Wings was not in a hurry. Clearly, she wanted to get the wicked bead first and have Luli in her hands. Then, she could interrogate him slowly or search his soul directly. There was no other way. Luli was climbing a cliff. Either he climbed up or he would be smashed into pieces. He pinned all his hopes on the skeleton. If he could not take control of the skeleton, or if the skeleton was useless and he could not kill or defeat God of Wings, then he would have to suffer a terrible death. He didn't care about anything else, not even the wicked bead. He focused on taking control of the skeleton. He poured divine energy into the skeleton. Time moved on. 2 days later, God of Wings put down the teacup in her hand. Her beautiful face was blushing. She had consumed more than half of the wicked bead. She believed that in one more day, she would have complete control over the bead. She had planned for such a long time and paid such a heavy price. Finally, she was about to succeed. Even she, as shrewd as she was, could not stay calm. She thought of the treasures left behind by Tian Lingzi, the invaluable materials, and the tens of thousands of books on inhibition formations and forging artifacts. The blush on God of Wings' cheeks grew deeper. She was smiling. She was like a widow who had been living in an empty house for many years, waiting for the love of her beloved man. She was trembling with excitement. Okay. Half a day later, God of Wings could feel a weak spiritual connection with the wicked bead. She trembled and then used psychic power to sense the situation in the wicked bead. What? Vaguely, God of Wings sensed that there were several halls in the wicked bead. She also sensed many books on inhibition formations and materials in several secondary halls. She also saw the immortal's body, the deaf Taoist, and Little White. Where is Luli? She frowned. She didn't see Luli in any of the halls. She kept on looking. Finally, she sensed the core hall and saw Luli sitting in front of the skeleton. Luli was holding the skeleton's hand. It seemed that he was pouring divine energy into the skeleton. What is this skeleton? God of Wings was knowledgeable. She sensed something unusual about the skeleton. Every bone of the skeleton was like a relic weapon. There seemed to be no inhibition formations on the skeleton, but there seemed to be some runes glistening in the bones. The skeleton did not release any powerful aura, but every bone on the skeleton was glowing. It felt like a sharp divine weapon was slowly revealing its edge. Luli, God of Wings, shouted at once, "Stop now, or our deal will be nullified. When I am done with the wicked bead, I will crush you in an instant." Luli sensed God of Wings' psychic power. He knew that the wicked bead was about to be taken over by God of Wings. That being said, Luli turned a deaf ear to God of Wings' words and continued to pour divine energy into the skeleton. Because, at the moment, he seemed to have established a spiritual connection with the skeleton. He was about to take control of the skeleton. Blood Fairy, try your best to stall for time and stop God of Wings from taking control of the wicked bead. Luli ordered Blood Fairy. Then, he entered the transcendent state and paid no more attention to what was going on outside. He was putting all his eggs in one basket. He pinned all his hopes on the skeleton. Luli, stop. Stop now. God of Wings shouted in the cabin. Outside, she sped up the process of taking control of the wicked bead. She poured divine energy into the skeleton. She did not know what that skeleton could be used for. But out of instinct, she had a bad feeling that things were going out of control, buzzing. 2 hours later, the skeleton suddenly shone in a dark light. A surge of horrifying energy came out from the skeleton. Luli, who was sitting in front of the skeleton, almost collapsed to the ground. Luli suddenly opened his eyes. He looked at the skeleton in front of him and sensed its energy. All of a sudden, he had a feeling this was not a skeleton, but a relic weapon that was extremely sharp. Before, it was just hidden in the scabbard to hide its sharpness. Chapter 1236. Do it. Luli no longer had any hesitation after he established a spiritual connection with the skeleton. He had to try no matter what. This was a desperate fight. If the skeleton could not kill or defeat God of Wings, then Luli would accept his fate. Luli took out a piece of blood crystal from the wooden box and threw it into the skeleton's mouth. The skeleton opened its mouth and swallowed the blood crystal. Then, the skeleton's bones glowed again. This time, it was a blood-red glow. Amazing, Luli noticed that there were blood-red lines on the bones of the skeleton, which turned the dark bones into a dark red and translucent color. Vaguely, Luli could see many runes glowing inside the bones. Every bone seemed to be imbued with power. Let's go. Charge. One blood crystal could only allow the skeleton to use one move. Luli did not want to waste too much time. What if the energy of the blood crystal ran out? Luli still had a weak spiritual connection with the wicked bead. Without hesitation, he sent the skeleton out. Luli dashed out as well and appeared in the hall where God of Wings was. Buzzing almost at the same time, Luli sent out the Deaf Taoist and the Immortal's body. Since he was going to fight, he must go all out. If he could not defeat God of Wings, then he would be the one to die, courting death. As soon as Luli came out, God of Wings came to her senses. Her beautiful hand reached for Luli's head. It was a beautiful hand, but horrifying one. Not even the wicked bead could get rid of it. Attack! Luli yelled as soon as he came out. He gave orders to the Immortal's body and the Deaf Taoist at the same time. Luli himself took out a relic weapon and was about to release the Slayer's move. Swish! However, to his surprise, before he could do anything, the skeleton dashed out. The skeleton reached out a huge hand toward God of Wings' hand. It was so fast that neither Luli nor God of Wings could react. That was right. Even God of Wings couldn't react in time. All she saw was a flash of white light before her beautiful hand was grabbed by a skeletal hand. The next second, God of Wings' soul trembled. She screamed in pain. Her eyes were filled with shock and terror. This was because after her hand was grabbed by the skeletal hand, it was easily crushed like tofu. Ka. Luli and the Deaf Taoist were stunned by what they saw. The skeleton dashed over and reached out a hand to fight against the hand of the God of Wings. The skeleton didn't use any special ability, but the beautiful hand of the God of Wings turned into a mist of blood. The skeleton's hand was still moving forward. Luli and the Deaf Taoist watched as God of Wings' arm was minced into pieces. The skeleton's skeletal hand was still reaching forward. It was about to grab Ishun's left shoulder. Run! God of Wings was indeed a battle-hardened warrior and a famous expert on the divine list. He put the skeleton into the core of the wicked bead. Pointing to the beast of the void, Luli asked, "Do you know how to control this thing? We must leave now. It will be troublesome if God of Wings comes back." "I can go and find out." The Deaf Taoist understood the gravity of the matter. He began to search in the inner hall and explained, "Usually, beasts of the void are cultivated. I think there is a control core. Anyone can control the beast of the void when the control core is found. Go and find it." Luli grabbed the wicked bead and poured in divine energy. The wicked bead was almost consumed by God of Wings. He must erase the spiritual imprint of God of Wings so that he could have complete control over the wicked bead. Found it. A moment later, the Deaf Taoist found a crystal ball. He studied it and said with excitement, "Lord, when you take control of this crystal ball, you can control the beast of the void. Do it now." Luli waved his hand. After that, fly the beast of the void to the northeast. God of Wings will not give up. She will catch up with us soon. By the time she catches up with us, she will not be alone. Such a shame. Luli used psychic power to check the 2 halls in the wicked bead where materials and crystals were stored. He did not find any blood crystals. In total, he had 6 blood crystals, and he had used one. If he had hundreds of blood crystals, he would not be afraid even if God of Wings came after him, with several immortals on the list. Chapter 12:37. The appearance of warlord Qing Wujin had helped Lu Li survive a life-and-death crisis. Lu Li's depressed mood, since he came to the divinity, was lifted. God of Wings would not give up, but at least Lu Li now had some means to protect himself. Lu Li and the Deaf Taoist were taken aback by the skeleton's strength. After all, relic armors were strong. Not even the immortal's body could break them, but the skeleton did. It was a pity that he did not have enough blood crystals. That being said, as long as he could get out and enter the city successfully, Lu Li could sell the materials in the Wicked Bead and find a way to buy blood crystals. There were billions of gods in the divine realm, but there were only 1,000,000 gods on the list. Although not all gods of this level were on the list, it at least proved that the gods of this level were very powerful. The skeleton battle god, Qing Wujin, was much stronger than the other deities on the gods list. When he had attacked, it was obvious that the winged god had not been able to react in time. As such, the skeleton war god was one of Lu Li's trump cards. Void beasts were very common in the god realm. They were a very strange type of life form, and after being refined, they were equivalent to half-life forms. As long as the core was refined, anyone could control them. In less than an hour, the Deaf Taoist had consumed the energy. Then, he flew the beast of the void away. The hole created by the God of Wings had been repaired automatically. According to the original plan, Lu Li chose to fly toward the northeast to the mansion of Oriental Prayers, which was not the territory of God of Wings. Only after leaving Blue Flame Manor would he be able to find a way to become a citizen of the manor and gain the right to freely enter and exit cities in the God realm. Blood Fairy, continue refining the immortal's corpse. Lu Li waved his hand at the immortal's body. Currently, he was relying on the skeleton, but the immortal's body was a weapon that he could count on in the long run. Once Blood Fairy gained control of all the matrices in the immortal's body, her battle prowess would definitely soar. She might even be as strong as Qing Wujin, the war god. The beast of the void flew in a straight line. Instead of consuming the red flake, the Deaf Taoist continued to study the beast of the void. The void beast had many functions, such as opening restrictions, all of which needed to be controlled. The beast of the void was fast. Lu Li told the Deaf Taoist to change his direction after a while. In this way, it would take God of Wings more time to catch up. At the same time, Lu Li asked the Deaf Taoist to check the beast of the void thoroughly to avoid any marks left by the God of Wings, which would make it easier for the God of Wings to track them down. Roar, roar, not long afterward, a wild beast appeared up ahead. Lu Li did not have the time to deal with the wild beast, nor was he in the mood to kill it for materials. He released some stone men to lure the wild beasts away. After flying for half a day, a small city appeared in front of them. There were obviously more gods near the city, but no one dared to stop the void beast. After all, in the god realm, anyone who could ride a heavenly void beast could be considered a big shot. If there was a god realm mighty figure inside, provoking them would result in immediate death. Lu Li really wanted to get into the city. After entering the city, there would definitely be shops and the like. There would definitely be teleportation arrays as well. The speed of teleportation would be faster. However, he did not dare to enter. Without the identity of a commoner, he would be easily captured by the prefectural army. Moreover, he had killed an official soldier of Blue Flame Manor. If he was still wanted, he would be walking right into a trap. They circled around the city and continued flying. The next few days were peaceful. Though they would run into wild beasts, they were of the lowest level. They could be lured away by the stone men. When they passed by that city, Lu Li found his location on the map. He realized something tragic. At the moment, he was in the center of the Vicissitude House. Based on the location of the Mountain of Vicissitudes and his speed and distance, it would take him at least a year to leave the Vicissitude House and go to the prefecture of Oriental Prayers. It would take him a year to travel across half a prefecture by riding a beast of the void. To go to the Swords Mountain, He would have to travel across 9 prefectures. Even if nothing happened along the way, it would still take him more than a decade. More than a decade. Luli knew that for immortals, a decade was just a blink of an eye. It was easy for immortals to live for tens of thousands of years or hundreds of thousands of years. However, it had only been 30 years since Luli was born. How could he spend more than a decade on the road? Phew, sitting in the small hall of the Beast of the Void, Luli was confused again. Once again, he had no idea what he should do next. According to his original plan, he would hide from Yin Tiangang, god of wings, and god of barbarian in the divinity, and find Emperor of Heaven Reverse at the Sword's Mountain as soon as possible. Then, he would cultivate and improve his abilities at the Sword's Mountain. He would ask Emperor of Heaven Reverse to help him find Lu Ling. When he was strong enough, he would look for Lu Ling based on clues. When he found Lu Ling, he would find a way to return to the Heaven Reverse universe or bring Jiang Qiling by Xia Shuang and the others to the divinity. Everything would be perfect. Dreams were beautiful, but reality was cruel. The vastness of the divinity was beyond his imagination. After he reached the immortal realm, it was difficult to improve his abilities. The divinity was filled with dangers everywhere, and he was being chased. All kinds of problems were bothering him, pressing him down like mountains. But he could not stop. He had to move forward step by step against the pressure. He would either stay until the moon was bright and the flowers bloomed, or he would fall into the abyss and be smashed. Never mind. I will go back to reading. Luli snuck back into the wicked bead. He decided to read books on inhibition formations for a few days to calm himself down and ease his anxiety. Anyways, there was one thing he had to do, and that was to leave the vicissitude house. It was never safe here. He had forgotten about the situation outside. He left everything to the deaf Taoist and the immortal's body. He kept Little White with him and fed at a divine source every once in a while. Little White seemed to have recovered a bit. That being said, Little White's life was still weak. That being said, Little White did not have to be fed divine source every few days. 2 divine source in half a month could keep Little White alive. Luli read for a day and a half in the hall. He heard Blood Fairy's voice in his mind. Master, something is wrong. There are many immortals in the mountain ahead. We need to put away the Beast of the Void. Then you can put us into the wicked bead and take a detour. Luli dashed out and used psychic power to check. He could faintly tell that there were many immortals in the mountain. Put away the Beast of the Void. Luli asked the deaf Taoist to put away the Beast of the Void and then put the immortal's body and the deaf Taoist into the wicked bead. Then Luli snuck down on his own. The deaf Taoist was a beast, and the immortal's body was a strange one. There were so many immortals patrolling around. Luli could run into them easily. Therefore, Luli had to take the risk on his own. Otherwise, he would be exposed. Good. They are not prefecture warriors. Luli checked from the distance. The immortals were wearing different armors and had different weapons. Clearly, they were not prefecture warriors. I need to take a detour. Luli did not want to get into trouble with anyone. He went to the left. He would rather take a detour than get into any conflict with the immortals ahead. He could not afford to provoke so many immortals. However, Luli had only moved forward for several hundred miles when he noticed that there were people hiding in the mountain ahead. Some were approaching from the distance. That being said, many people saw him but did not pay attention. They only used psychic power to check and then paid no attention to him. They continued to sneak deeper into the mountain. So many people. Are there any treasures in that mountain? Luli thought about it with a frown. In the end, he decided not to be greedy. It was better that nobody was paying attention to him. He could just take a detour. Roar that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.